Hello. Welcome back to the Random Show with your host, Agostinho Zinga. This is the Random Show. Hope you are well wherever I may find you. I finally got my camera to flipping work, so I'm happy about that. I was gonna stream without it actually. Last time I did it, actually worked out pretty well. To be fair, there's a different type of energy when you're streaming or you're doing content and your face isn't there. I think that's why sometimes I enjoy, even though I've not updated it in a while, but I enjoy doing my Patreon so much, because when I do my Patreon, I usually just record videos without my face, or I record just the audio alone, and it's so much, I don't know, you flow way better when you're not worried about looking at yourself or making sure you're in frame and shit, you know what I mean? Even though I don't really look at myself a lot when I'm streaming, I'm still like conscious that I'm on camera, you know what I mean? But when you stream without a camera, it's absolutely incredible. I'm not gonna lie, it's actually really good. So I may actually try that a couple of times and see what I want, especially since I'm gonna be switching up my comp. I've got because I have, you know, I'm one of those weird guys that I'm one of those strange people. I don't know if you guys are the same, where I have loads of like semi decent things, but not like one really high quality thing. Like for instance, I should save up money, right, and buy an actual legit streaming laptop, because at the moment I can't have like a PC because my flat's too small and I want to move it around and stuff. So I should buy a really good gaming laptop, right, that can stream, that I can do all my shit on, and it's going to be fine. Now I should spend the money, right? It's going to be like a grand 500. I should spend the money and buy that one good thing. But instead, what do I have? I have one MacBook Pro that I use now from 2012 that's like hanging on by a dear thread. I have an old MacBook Air, and I just found when I was cleaning my shit, I have another MacBook Air that's like a bit newer. I think it's like a 2019 one, but the screen is broken. So I have to get the screen fixed. So what I'm thinking to do, because I don't use that and it's completely plain, it's completely empty, I might just use that for streaming only. So I might just send all my links to my email and then just use that MacBook Air from 2019 just as a streaming laptop and nothing else. And I think it'll be pretty much fine. But I was sitting there thinking, why do I have 3 MacBooks? You know what I mean? I've got 3 fucking MacBooks. Don't get me wrong, they're all old, but I've got 3. Instead of just like consolidating it and buying like one good thing, I've got like 3 okay things, you know? Average things. It's really like it's one of those things I tend to always kind of do. I'm not too sure why that is. Maybe it's a procrastination thing. Maybe it's what you call it, maybe it's a weird intuitive fear of success thing. I don't know. It's very odd behavior. It's actually impressive that I actually did go out of my way to actually buy a proper mic, like this pod mic, and I got the little, what's that, the little Focusrite, you know, audio interface thing. It's actually, I wouldn't have done that in years gone by, but I think, you know, after a while, so I said to myself, hey, if I can't have a good computer that can process high quality video, I'm at least gonna have decent audio. So at least the audio is decent. So thank you for those of you for sticking by me and being patient as my computer issues just keep rumbling on. But you know what, we strive and we proceed, because the most important thing is to have fun on these streams, is to fuck around, and that's what we're doing here. So hope you're all good, hope you're all well. I'm absolutely amazing. I've got a nice little glass of, you know what it is, a nice little coffee cold brew here. I've just finished, because I don't usually do this, but I just fucking wash the dishes before I stream, because sometimes I'll do it after I stream and I feel tired. So I wash the dishes before I streamed. I've got all my workout gear ready to go in the morning. I'm feeling good. So as soon as I finish the stream, I'm going to go straight to the gym, come back home, sleep, and then go off to work again. So I'm feeling actually good. I've actually got a good day kind of planned and structured, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I can't wait to get into the stream and have some LOLs with you lovely people. Big up everybody in the flipping chat. Big up Tim Baxter saying, Mac, there's your problem. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I'm one of those losers though that can't let go of Macs. I know I need a Windows computer, but when I do, I'll eventually get one. I think I've got my eye on the, what did I see the other day that I wanted? It was like a grand 500. I think it's like an Asus. I forgot which one it is. I've got my eye on one gaming laptop that I want to get. It's a fucking beast, and I forgot the name of it. Let me see if I can find it. It might be one of those. What is it? Gaming laptop. Let me see if I can get it on my phone. But I'm pretty sure that's the one I'm gonna get. So it's gonna be the first time I've used Windows in a while, because I used to. I'm not too sure about you guys, but in the office jobs that I've had and the ones I have now, unfortunately for me anyway, they give you a choice of computers. You know. That's the thing, they fucked me. I think if I never had a choice in computers at work, I think I would have switched to Windows a long time ago. Because nowadays in the kind of companies I work in, mostly like startups and shit, they usually give you a choice. They usually ask you if you want, you know, would you like to use a Mac or would you like to use Windows? And because I, you know, if I got the option, I'll just choose a Mac because that's what I use at home and I'm familiar with it. But if I was forced to use like an old, like an Lenovo or something, Windows, I would definitely switch to Windows permanently at home because I'm used to it. But because I'm so not used to it, I'm a little bit, you know, whatever. But after doing some research online, I know that Windows is the best for streaming, so I have to get on it one way or the other anyway. Yeah, so the one I'm going to go get most likely is one of those Asus Tough ones. I'm not too sure if you guys know which ones they are. It's like TUF, Asus Tough. I think that's probably one of the ones I'm going to end up getting as a gaming laptop that I can then use to stream because it's going to be, you know, it's going to be good enough to do that sort of shit. It's got a great fucking, you know, graphics card and shit, so I can actually invest in a proper camera because I'm going to get a proper camera too. I'm gonna get one of those Canons and shit and improve the quality of the fucking video a little bit, but bit by bit I'll do it. But just today I was looking at myself with my free average semi-broken MacBook, thinking to myself like I should just sell these or bin these and then just save up and actually get a proper thing instead of having free broken things. But hey, you know what? We have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. Big up everybody in the stream chat. I see you. Big up Richie Rich. Big up Richie. Yeah, my wife and kids, man. You know what? You know what, Richie? You know what, Richie? The wife and kids look after themselves. I'm like Brendan. I go out, I earn the money, and they look after the house. And when I'm back, I'm back. They don't ask any questions. I go out there, get the baddies. You know, I have some addies on the way to keep myself perked up and shit. And when I come back, I'm expecting a steak, a sandwich, a dick suck, and and kids meet me at the door. Daddy, Papa Aggie, you're home, Papa Aggie. That's what I'm expecting. All right. But when I go away from home, I don't want any questions. Don't talk to me. Shh. Daddy's on tour. Daddy's truck walking. Shh. We got the stream chat. Big up Chocolate to Drop. I see you there. Thank you for joining the live stream. Big up Casey. I see you there also. Shout out to Wi-Fi. No, my Wi-Fi connection is good. No. Casey, don't say that. Do not say that. My Wi-Fi connection is fine. It's just that I have I'm running this stream and everything that I do content-wise on a 2012 MacBook Pro. Just keep that in mind. A 2012 MacBook Pro, the one that's got the CD drive in it. That's what I use. I use that. So just imagine, you know, I've already fucking maxed the RAM. I've got the maximum amount of RAM in there. I've got a solid state drive. I've done everything needed to kind of make this streaming optimized, but it's a fucking 2012 MacBook Pro. It can just about do this. So I have to close all the other apps. I can't have any other things running. Like, it's fucking crazy. That's why my streams go crazy. Not because of the Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is fucking good. Don't insult my Wi-Fi, okay? Do not insult my Wi-Fi. Yo. Big up everybody. Appreciate all of you for joining me. We're gonna get on it and we're gonna go. Yeah, hazy Chombies, London and Addy. Imagine I called my kids London and Addy. Imagine that, man. Actually, Addy's quite a cute name actually for a kid, isn't it? No, I think Addy's actually quite a nice name. I quite like Addy. London's a bit bait, but I quite like Addy. I think Addy's actually a cute name. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to consider that when I pop out another one. When I do the old 3 pumps and done, right? I might name that one Addy actually. anyways, what we were saying here? Dang, bro, you're on a flip phone era of MacBook. Yo, big up on my letterbox and fucking work. What? What do you say? You deserve this for the Papa lifestyle you're currently living. Thank you, Richie. No. Don't have sympathy for me. I'm not crying here. It's not a violin time. I love this MacBook because this MacBook I remember this MacBook I bought. This is one of my first purchases that I kind of paid for, like, for my first like proper office job, because it took me a while to like leave service industry, retail, bar stuff. It took me a very long time because I thought I was too proud to fucking have a normal job because I was waiting to be a creative and shit, when actually the actual right approach is to work a regular 9 to 5 and do your other shit on the side. But when I was younger, I had a really fucking pig-headed way of looking at things, and I thought, I can't work a 9 to 5 because it's gonna take up all my time, so I have to be able to be creative and be free. And ended up wallowing in fucking retail for way longer than I probably should have. So when I finally did get the office job, this MacBook Pro was the first thing that I bought, like with a lot of money. Like I spent like, you know, more than 500 on it and shit. And at that time it hurt because, you know, I probably wasn't making I probably wasn't making over 800. Do you know what I mean? So you're taking out 500 a month that you're earning working retail, and you're putting in a computer. It's like, oh, it hurts, but that's why I've got a special place in my heart, man. This baby, this MacBook, is my baby. You know what I mean? This is my chica. This is my baby. You know what I mean? I love this thing. I love this thing. This is my Mexican, bro. This is my Mexican. It's not from Guadalajara, but it's close enough. You know what I mean? It's close enough. What am I talking about? Let's go from this. Yeah. What? Nah, Tedry's taking the piss. Ada or Zinga. That's actually a good name. Ada. You know what? I'll take the first one. Ada is actually a good name. Ada or Zinga. That's actually a good name. The first part of it, Ada or. Ada is actually a nice name. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of sounds Germanic, you know. It's got like a Germanic hint to it. I mean, it's giving like Aryan race, you know. But obviously, the kid wouldn't, you know. But yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, moving on. So, why don't you talk about this before I go into everything? Am I the only person who thought the Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul fight, or Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz fight, was a bit of a rug pull? It was a bit of a fucking cash grab. I'm looking back at it, having watched it earlier today because I'm a weirdo. I went back and watched the entire fight. And I think at the time when I was streaming, I think I popped in, whoever gave me the link, thank you for giving it to me in the Discord. And join the Discord if you're not a member yet. And I checked it out in Discord. I think I might have joined in at about round 3 or round 5. I forgot which one. But I watched the fight back from the beginning. And it was horrible. The quality was terrible. Number one, I was surprised at how terrible Nate Diaz looked in boxing, because in MMA, especially in UFC, Nate Diaz is known as somebody who's got really good boxing, who's got really good like hands, right? Obviously his jiu-jitsu is like next level, but his hands are pretty good. And for some reason, maybe it's just boxing is just a different, because it's just a different sport, obviously, and maybe because it's a sweet science, he just looked really horrible. He looked really bad when he was boxing. That's the first thing I remember thinking, like, wow, Nate Diaz just looks like really terrible. It kind of reminded me a little bit of why some people don't like Draker's fucking Duplessis, because he's not like good on the eye. He's a bit like gangly. He looks uncoordinated. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, but clearly he's a fucking high level fighter, innit? But I thought Nate Diaz kind of looked the same way. And then I thought Jake Paul, coming off the loss of against Tyson Fury, which some people say he didn't lose, but it could have been a draw, but regardless, it wasn't a good fight either. I thought he needed to have a really strong showing against somebody like Nate, who clearly wasn't a better boxer than him. Probably they didn't belong in the same ring. And I thought Jake struggled. I thought Drake struggled to get him out of there, number one. Obviously, he dropped him once, but, you know, he was kind of crossing his legs, going the opposite way and hitting him back of the head. It kind of felt more like a punch push than a punch that knocked him down, but still knocked him down. Doesn't matter. But I thought Jake wasn't that impressive. If I was Jake, I would be a little bit pissed off with myself that I wasn't able to get him out. Sorry, not Tyson Fury. I mean Tommy Fury. My bad. I'm having a fucking Brendan Shaw moment. I mean Tommy Fury. The fight against Tommy Fury, I thought wasn't that great. I thought maybe Tommy Fury might have edged it, but I would understand if people thought it was a draw. But either way, I would assume because there was a loss on Jake Paul's record, he needed this fight to be a real barnstormer. He needed to come out and prove a point. And when it started and it was very clear that Nate wasn't in the same league as him as a boxer, I thought Jake should have got him out of there, and he didn't. Of course, Nate is an easy person to knock out. As I checked on the fucking Wikipedia, I don't think Nate has been knocked out properly in a long time, let alone being subbed. So I was surprised that he didn't fucking try to get him out there. But then, you know, looking at the record, it kind of makes sense. But overall, it was a pretty terrible fight. I'm not going to lie. It didn't really... I don't think I've ever come away from these fights with Jake and Logan. Maybe the only one I can think of, maybe Logan did one. I can't think of many of these guys where I've come away from it thinking I should have paid for that, because I'm always watching them on fucking, you know, quote unquote illegal streams. I never once watch it and think, oh my god, I should pay for that. I can't wait to go and watch that live. Never. It just looks like, you know, it's fun to watch in the moment because everyone's watching it online. It's something to talk about. But it's just, you know, if you're gonna, especially after watching fucking Earl Spence and fucking, what's his name, Terence Crawford the other day, if you're gonna watch boxing, you might as well watch people that are really good at it. You know what I mean? Why would you watch like guys that, you know, are probably the same level as you if you train? It doesn't make any sense. You're a big up Austin Casey, I appreciate you. Oh my god. Let me replay that. Sorry, mate. I forgot to fucking I forgot to fucking put the thing on my sound. Let me play that one more time. Thank you, Austin Casey. I appreciate you. One more time.
Big up Az. I agree that fight was so weird. It looked like Nate couldn't be bothered, like he barely trained.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a strange one. Thank you for the donation, bro. I appreciate you. It was just a strange one. I just don't get it. And I don't know. I'm seeing people talking about it and being hyped over it. Jake obviously is really happy because he beat a UFC legend, somebody that a lot of people thought he was going to lose against. So I see why Jake's happy about it. I see why Nate's happy about it. They both got a payday. But I think as an advertisement, you know, are any of you guys anyway, let me ask you in the chat. Do any of you guys pay for this? Have any of you guys paid for the pay-per-view to watch this? Are any of you guys curious to go and watch it live? Let me know what your thoughts are in the chat, because maybe I'm talking out my ass, because I'm not really a boxing guy. I just watch stuff casually, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. What are you guys saying? Because I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was fucking terrible, man. Really, really bad. Like, horrendously bad. What are you guys saying in the chat? No, always on a crack stream. Never pay, says Richie. I buy all Jake fights, see Alien watch. Hell no, says Koila. Okay, fair enough. I stream every illegally. I stream it all illegally. Austin Katie says, I pay for good UFC cards, but I didn't pay for this. Yeah, I pay for UFC because I've got good point, Austin. I've got in the UK we've got fucking our UFCs with BT Sports. So I've got a BT Sports like web thing that I log in, that I use to watch the fights, and you can watch anything like TV and shit. I mean, like, you know, football and whatnot. And that's pretty good because most of the UFC cards on pay-per-view you get for free included in that. You get for free. I'm still paying it per monthly, but I don't have to pay for a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? I watch the pay-per-views and the fight nights. So that's pretty decent. And I would be more than happy. I would be more than happy to go to a fucking PFL, Bellator fight, mixed martial arts. I'm not going to get my money's worth, but with these influencer boxing things, Jake could have beat Tyson in his prime 3 times in a row. TNT Sports now. But that's what pay-per-view I bought was Tyson Holyfield. Wow. Crash. That's a long time ago, isn't it? Fucking hell. Yeah, I think the last... Oh, sorry. The last pay-per-view I think I technically paid for was when Anthony Joshua beat Klitschko. Do you remember that infamous fight where he uppercutted him and Klitschko's neck sort of looked like it was going to kind of pull away from his shoulders? That was the last one, because I remember we went to go watch it in a pub in the local area that I live in, and you had to kind of pay essentially like the pay-per-view price to get in. So that was technically the last pay-per-view I paid for, was that Joshua Klitschko fight. That was a really good fight, man. That was a really good fight. That might have been Anthony Joshua's best performance ever, to be honest. That might have been his best performance ever. That was really good, man. That uppercut, I just remember that uppercut, like seeing Klitschko's face in the rewind, like his neck literally looking like it was gonna rip off from his head, look at his rip off from his fucking shoulders, was incredible. But yeah, I wouldn't pay for it, so stay away. The only fight that was interesting was the one with the actual boxer, the one that he lost. Yeah, exactly. Why, good point. Yeah, I don't know. I think, to be honest, to be fair to them though, to be fair to these guys, I think what they've cracked is something that Brendan hasn't cracked. Is that freaking likability thing. And I think someone said it before. Who was it? I think it was Gucci Mane. This is a really stretch to say this, right? But I think it was Gucci Mane. Gucci Mane, I remember there was a time when Gucci Mane, I think even before he got skinny, when he was, because I think now he's sort of like chilled out with the releases, but before he was skinny, he was a bit fatter and stuff, and he was on drugs and whatnot, he would drop all the time. Maybe because of the drugs, maybe because of just his work ethic, it doesn't matter. And maybe now because he has a family, so he doesn't really drop as often. But I remember there was a time where I forgot who asked him. No, actually, it was when he was skinny. I think it was when he was starting to get to working out. I think it was Charlemagne in an interview. He asked him something like, oh, why don't you have more like quality control? Why don't you like chill out with the releases and then just release everything like in one big album at the end of the year? Why are you releasing like 3 albums in 1 year? And I remember Gucci Mane basically saying something like, along the lines of like, why not? If my fans like me and they love what I do, they'll want to hear new music from me whenever, like as much as possible. They're always going to listen to my new stuff. So I'm only making music for my fans. And I was like, yeah, that's actually a good point. So I think in this world of like influencers and content creators, if you like Jake Paul, if you like all these other influencers that fight, Logan, KSI, you don't care what they do. You don't care if they bungee jump. You don't care if they try their hand at NASCAR, if they try to become golfers, professional pool players, they try to, you know, become fucking endurance athletes, CrossFit. you're going to watch it because you like them as people. So I think that's what they've cracked, and they've done it really well. And obviously they've monetized it in a big way. They've got their own fight promotions. They've got, you know, gear they sell off the back of it, training programs. It's a really smart thing. I think it's the one thing that, again, just to mention Brendan, because, you know, we talk about him a lot on here. I think that's the one thing that he has never really figured out, you know, like, if you're likable, you could get away with murder. Like, no one actually, this is the thing, no one actually cares that Brendan's not funny. It's just that he's not likable. He's like, he comes across like a douche. But if he was actually likable, him being not funny would be kind of funny in itself. It'd be kind of endearing. People would kind of root for him. But because he's fundamentally a very unlikable person, it's hard to root for him and to want him to succeed. You know, look at the fucking whiskey. If Brendan was likable, people would be buying the whiskey even if they didn't drink, just to support him, you know? Like, hey, I support you. I don't give a fuck about whiskey. I'm just going to have this on my shelf, but I bought it just because I'm a big fan of yours. People do that all the time with celebrities, you know what I mean? So it's like one thing that I'm not sure why he never realized that. But then I guess in his eyes, he probably doesn't think he's unlikable. He probably thinks we're all fucking idiots and we're poor and we're all fucking, you know, in a basement with Cheeto fingers. Big up Stinger Guru. Appreciate you for the $2, my friend.
You know more about MMA and boxing than Bappa.
Nah. I'm just a filthy casual, man. I pop in and pop out. My main sport of interest is football. That's something that I follow religiously. Do you know what I mean? I'm watching that all the time. I'm on the streams. I'm in fucking Twitter spaces arguing with people. Like the other day, I had a pretty heated argument with some guys randomly about Man United shit. I'm not going to start about on here because I know I fucking bore you guys to death when I talk about football. But football's my main thing. But, you know, fighting is just one of those things, isn't it, that we all get interested in. Plus, UFC is easy to... UFC, I think, is an easy sport to get into, I think. You know, even just as like a interest on the side, I think it's an easy sport to get into because number one, there's so many fighters, there's so many promotions, there's so many fucking cards, and also because they use, you know, all of their limbs and shit, it's easy to kind of get a read on what's going on. I think with boxing and shit, it's a little bit more analytical. You kind of have to know what's going on to figure out, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to read, like, but that's why sometimes I like to watch most of this shit on mute, actually, because I don't know what's going on, so I don't want to be influenced by the judges. So sorry by the commentators. So I'll just watch it on mute and then go from there. But anyway, what can you do? Enough of my rabbiting. Let me get a tissue quickly, and then we can continue. Bear with me 1 second. Actually, let me mute the mic too, so you don't hear me blowing. 1 sec. Okay, we're back. And I know we're allergy season now. I don't want to be gross and gross anybody out in the chat. I know it's allergy season because, number one, my sinuses are horrible because I flushed them out with some sea salt and shit. I did all stuff I'm meant to do. But now I know that it's bad because my bogey smells like it's got that. If you've got allergies and stuff, you know what I mean. Your bogey has like a weird smell to it. And also when you look at it in the tissue paper, it's sometimes, you know, it's very colorful. Let's say that, do you know what I mean? It's a very vibrant color. That's similar to grass, so that doesn't really help sometimes. You're like, ugh, but yeah, it kind of smells and shit. But hey, yeah, I love whenever I say that. Every time I say I got allergies, everyone always says I'm having bumps. Yo, you guys, if I ever did drugs on live stream, you would know. Trust me, you would know. Actually, there's one stream actually. Let me actually show you because I think some of you guys really underestimate my ability to just like do this shit normal with just coffee and just hype, because as you guys know, I'm a very expressive individual. But there's a video of me on my channel from when I went to Berlin, and that's when you can tell that I may have been on some substances. That's the only one. The rest of them, you guys are just capping. Let me see if I can find it. Search my name. Let's do Berlin. It was like when I went, I think I did like a TAZ show or something there. Oh, I forgot which one it is. It's a number, but it's one of me. You can see because I filmed it in the kitchen of the Airbnb that I was staying in, right? And you can clearly see that I was gone. You know what I mean? Like if you watch it back. Actually, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not showing you guys that shit. Fuck that. If you find it, you find it. But I'm not gonna show you that. Moving on. But that was a clear one. That was a clear one where it was like I was. You could tell I was. You know, I was dancing. That's the only time I actually wish I could do fucking what Uniques do. What Uniques does, I wish I could fucking do what Uniques does, because that would make it more fun. I haven't even drank that much on the stream either before, to be honest. So it's just a bit, you know, there's too much going on. But anyway, enough of that. Enough of me trying to incriminate myself. Let's just move on. So I'm surprised at this, man. I'm literally surprised this happened. So obviously most of you guys know that Tory Lanez unfortunately got sentenced to 10 years in prison for the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion. And a lot of people, myself included, were shocked at the sentence. I think I kind of guessed or hoped it would be like 6 years or something around that kind of mark. And with time served, it might be a bit 3.5 years to sit down for a dumb mistake and then you come out and resurrect your career. But 10 years for a crime that a lot of people are still 50-50 on. There's no conclusive proof that he did it. The DNA evidence is shoddy. No bullet fragments. All these things are just like all over the place. And I think a lot of people, myself included, are of the belief that he probably didn't do it. But unfortunately, with court, you have to kind of prove you didn't do it. And he probably couldn't. His defense, of course, and that's why he ended up having to get sentenced. Because I guess it was like probable cause, right? Out of all the people who could get charged, he was the only one who didn't have immunity, and he was obviously on the stand, so he was there, so he was, you know, he kind of got the time. It kind of makes what it makes. But I just assumed he would just take his time and, you know, sit it down and go from there, or they'll just file an appeal and he would just kind of stay out of the limelight. But I guess after all the hullabaloo around the fucking sentence and whatnot, Tory actually put out a statement, an actual statement, basically trying to clarify what he actually said. Because I think in the court, before he got sentenced, he was allowed to speak. And when he spoke, he basically said like he was, you know, he was sorry. And he basically said he was sorry for the events that happened that kind of led up to the shooting and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of people assumed he was saying sorry for the shooting. So I guess he went to clarify, no, I didn't say sorry for the shooting because I didn't do it. I'm innocent. And also just to kind of, you know, give a heads up to his fans and whatnot. I was really surprised by a statement because I feel like this statement has basically fucked Megan Thee Stallion. Basically, like it's going to make her trying to come back and start her career again very, very difficult. So let's get the thing up on here. This is Tory Lanez's Instagram account. He posted on his official Instagram, as you can see there. Let me quickly take the chat off the screen so you can see it. It says as follows: to the umbrellas, that's what he calls his fans, I have never let the hard time intimidate me. I will never let no jail time eliminate me. Regardless of how they try to spin my words, I have always maintained my innocence, and I always will. This week in court, I took responsibility for all the verbal and intimate moments that I shared with the parties involved. That's it. In no way, shape or form was I apologizing for the charges I'm being wrongfully convicted of. I remain of the stance that I refuse to apologize for something I did not do. Remember that. I did not do. I've faced adversity my whole life, and every time it looked like I would lose, I came up on top. This is nothing but another moment where my back is against the wall and I refuse to stop fighting till I come out victorious. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. To my family, friends and umbrellas, thank you for your continued support. See you soon. So he is literally saying categorically, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It's pretty wild. Like, it makes Megan's comeback way more difficult, because if he just would have disappeared and, you know, slunked away, you know, back to his jail cell, back to his prison cell, took the time on the chin and just say it all out, Megan would have had a free run to kind of restart her career. But I did say in the previous stream, I did doubt, I think because Academic said she's going to be fine, I doubted it. Yo, big up Richard, appreciate you for your donation.
Not shocked at all. Blame it on his family and friends. When court was over, they blamed Jay-Z and Beyonce. Why they do that? Jay-Z heard about it and made one phone call, and they threw the book at Tory.
Yeah, exactly, Rich. You know, to be fair, I understand his point, because if you guys remember, Lil Uzi Vert got into some really weird passa with his ex-girlfriend at the time. I forgot her name. No, that's her name, Brittany Bird. This girl called Brittany Bird. She's like well known on Instagram for like wearing cool clothes. I think she has her own store. So Lil Uzi Vert used to go out with this girl before JT, and they broke up and got into a bit of a beef. And then I guess one day that girl was seeing, I forgot the name of the rapper. She was seeing somebody at some cafe, and I guess Lil Uzi Vert found out, and he was still kind of into her, I guess, at the time, even though he was still going out with JT. And he pulled up to the cafe where they were at, pulled out a gun on the girl, stuck it in her stomach, punched the guy, and was just basically being a menace. Anyway, long story short, he got convicted of it in court. He got put to, like, you know, anger management stuff and whatever it may be. But essentially, that whole incident, because again, he attacked a woman and all this stuff, you know, being physical with a woman, people always said that Lil Uzi Vert got away with it more so because he was on Rock Nation. Now, Rock Nation have links and have an ability to, like, you know, quell stories and spin a different narrative. So for some reason, Tory did something that people, I'm not too sure if he did, and he immediately got cancelled. So that's why I understand why Tory's family was so hell-bent on, like, talking about Rock Nation, because it did seem iffy that Lil Uzi Vert kind of got away with it, didn't get cancelled, and his career is flourishing, even though he got convicted in court before Tory Lanez did. You know, I know he didn't serve any jail time, but, you know, that went there. Then obviously when the story came out, Megan immediately was the one that everyone kind of believed, and that narrative was kind of getting pushed. So it kind of felt like there was a machine behind Megan the entire time. By the way, can you guys hear the roadworks when I'm talking? Because I can hear it a lot from my window. Can you guys hear it, or is it only me? Let me know in the chat. Can you hear that? I don't know if I'm screaming over some fucking roadworks or if it's okay. Okay, not really. Okay, cool. Okay, anyway. This is fucking putting me off. I can barely hear it. Okay, cool. I can hear BGO picking up a car. Thank you. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Trucks backing up. Okay, you guys are idiots. You're never serious. We got saying? No, yeah, but Lil Uzi didn't have to admit anything though. That's what I'm saying, Vagabond. It was all dealt with behind the scene. Lil Uzi Vert never spoke about it. He was never questioned by the media. It was never a big story. It kind of just came and went. That's the issue. That's what I'm saying. Tory, because he was independent, kind of, he didn't have that machine behind him. That's why he kind of got fucked. But in my personal opinion, I've said this from the beginning, I still say if I had to do a percentage of blame, I still put 70% of the blame on Tory. I think 30% is still Megan. I think because she knows that Tory didn't shoot her. She knows, right? So that's obviously super vindictive of her. But I still put 70% of the blame on Tory. Why do I say that? Because I feel like men should always be in control in that situation, especially when it comes to you involved with a woman and shit. You should always be in control, and that means being in control of your emotions. So if it's not going well for you, you should back away. If it's going well for you, you should kind of make it known your intentions, but you should always be in control. And I feel like, in my opinion, Tory just did too much. He saw like everything in front of him in fucking 4K. He saw Megan looking hot because he was banging her. He saw Kelsey looking hot, Megan's friend, he was banging her. Then he saw Kylie Jenner in the pool, you know, looking like a baby in a manger, like I said in that weird lyric, and he went to bang her too. He just did too much that night. If you just would have relaxed, he would have been fine. But because he did that, then he went outside and exposed everything, and the girls got into a fight allegedly, which then led to the gunshot thing. It's kind of a lot of his responsibility. You know, he has to take a lot of responsibility for just being too much of a hot boy. But if you had to ask me, like, you know, categorically, do I think he shot her? No. I think there's too many inconsistencies, and for me, the one thing that always kind of put a bad taste in my mouth was the fact that Megan never wanted to admit in the beginning that she even was sleeping with fucking Tory Lanez. She was acting as if like it was beneath her. Like she was like, no, I would never sleep with that guy. Like going on as if like it was an impossible thing. I never really understood that. I think for me, that's what made it really fishy. Like obviously you were. Like why else would you guys get into this super fucking heated argument in the first place? I mean, it makes no sense. So yeah, whatever. That was set me off. But anyway, moving on from that one, we've got this another part of the story. There's IGGY AZALEA, unfortunately, has been dragged into it. So if you're not aware, I think before Tory got put into prison, I think it came out that IGGY AZALEA and Tory was hooking up, or that he was working on an album. Not too sure, one or the other, but they were close. So obviously when it AZALEA, whatever her fucking name is, you know what I'm talking about, Iggy, right? Whenever it came up the opportunity for people that Tory knows to write like character witness statements for him, she stepped up and said, yeah, I'm gonna write one because I know him. So she wrote one to the judge, and I guess these things are meant to be, you know, confidential. She probably didn't think it was ever gonna get leaked to the press. So at first, when the rumors came out that she wrote a statement for fucking a character witness statement, I guess, you know, to the judge in order to kind of maybe help him get a lenient sentence. She says she didn't do it, and this is a original post, I think. Where is it? I think it's this one here, where you can see her kind of denying that she wrote anything crazy. This is her original tweet that she's now deleted, actually, unfortunately, because obviously she's been getting a lot of like pushback, which I think is really dumb. So she said before the actual proof of what she wrote came out, she said the following: Iggy, she said, for the record, 1, I have not been in touch with Tory for months. I have no reason to be, but I wish him well. She kind of sounds like Donald Trump. I wish him well. I don't support anyone. The whole thing is full of oddities. My letter never mentioned anything in regard to what happened that night. I was told this was for a judge only, yet it's being discussed in public, ? I never intended to be a public comment. I am not in support of throwing away anyone's life if we can give reasonable punishments that are rehabilitative. No, that are rehabilitative. Yeah? Is that how I'm saying it right? Rehabilitative, yeah. Sorry, I'm reading that wrong. Rehabilitative. Instead, I support prison reform, period. Number 5, I was asked to write about my genuine experience and the type of punishment I think he deserves. I did. It's not really that interesting, but I understand why it is being sensationalized. See you next weekend to discuss piece of topics, I suppose. So this is what she was saying. She kind of came up a bit, a little bit full of herself, but unfortunately, it's now been exposed what she actually wrote to the judge. And it's a lot more than just, a vague support. She really went in for him. So this is Iggy, right? She says as follows. Iggy, my name is Iggy and I've been a successful musician for the last decade. I've sold over 65 million records throughout my career, had #1 hits on Billboard, Hot 100 and broken records. My music has been nominated for 6 Grammys. I've also cried about Britney Spears, Becoming successful is incredibly hard to do. Maintaining success is even harder. The music industry is not designed to empower artists, especially not women. You learn to expect misogyny at every turn, no matter how much you've personally achieved. Sadly, I've spent my entire career battling sexism and bad behavior behind the scenes. Looking at UTI. One unfortunate consequence of that is I'm a victim of abuse myself. Is she talking about Playboy Carti? I hope she's not talking about Playboy Carti. Hopefully she's not talking about Playboy Carti, please. I must make note of the thing that I've suffered through so that you understand definitively that I do not write this on behalf of an abuser. In fact, it's very reason I felt it imperative to share my viewpoint as a woman in music in regards to Daystar Peterson, which is Tory. You are presiding over his case, and it would mean a great deal to me if you please let me share with you why Tory Lanez is far from the average entitled rapper. Or rap star, sorry. I believe in justice, and I know you do too. You dedicate your life work to it, and I respect that deeply. That's why I'm taking my time to do this, because I know the person you are understands. In order to truly conclude what a fair sentence is, you need to do better understanding of who the person is you're sentencing is at the core. Judge Hereford, I was elated when I saw your name in relation to the trial because you've been a reputation of being fair. It's a fact of one of the reasons why I saddened Daystar had a subpar legal counsel and did not take the stand at his own trial. We have all been frozen in fear before. The unfortunate side effect of this choice is he's been painted in the most unrecognizable way, and the jury and the public. Next slide. She's been barring this up in it. I've witnessed him diffuse so many sticky situations with kindness and humor. He is the last person to lose his cool. I've never encountered this jealous, rage-filled person he's accused of being. I've known him to be someone who's always bursting with happiness in the moments you want to cry. If you call Daystar, he will find a way to make you laugh. Yo, Iggy loves this man, innit? Fucking hell. She is glazing him up. Since Daystar remains in jail, many of his employees are left without work. I took it upon myself to hire 6 of his staff members. Oh, Iggy, man. Didn't you say you didn't know him and you haven't spoken to him in months? That's what she said here, no? She said, look, didn't she say that? She says, I don't support anyone. I've not been in touch with Tory for months, but you're hiring his ex-staff members. Oh, Iggy. Okay, cool. I hope that you'll consider a sentence that allows. Sorry, that's what I said. No, my bad. Let me go back again. But what I say here. Since Daystar's in jail, many of his employees are left without work. I took upon myself to hire 6 of his staff members full time. Wow. I did this not only because they are great hardworking people, but so that they remain in a position to transition back into running his business when he's completed his sentence. I'm doing all that I can to make sure he's in a position to come home and get back to work. That's incredible, man. She's really nice. She's really nice, or fucking Tory has the fucking he has that dangalang, and people have been saying that for a while, innit? Even though he's short, people will say that, you know. So yeah, it left an impression. Let's say that. I hope that you'll consider a sentence that allows for this to be a transformational and not life destroying, not only for Daystar but for his family, son, and countless others who depend on him and are committed to helping him reach his full potential. If Daystar is able to remain in the United States after he has served his time, I would employ him without hesitation as a executive producer of my next album. Wow. In fact, I already hired him to do the job prior to his conviction. I guarantee that he has significant income and work awaiting him upon release if you do kindly consider a sentence that does not require deportation. I have remained in close contact with him. Iggy, she said, look what she said here. I have not been in touch with him for months. I have no reason to, but I do wish him well. And then in the letter, I've been in close contact with him since his incarceration. She's been sending him fucking her OnlyFans links, sending him some race. I mean, like, oh man, I like Iggy though, to be fair. This is what you're meant to do. If you write for somebody, write for them. Big up Iggy. I remained in close contact with him during his incarceration. I'm confident he has already gained positive insight in regards to this experience. He leads a prayer circle nightly and he's already empowering others during his time in jail. In fact, we have spoken last week and he told me he's glad God put him in jail. He said that this is an opportunity to humble himself and soften his heart. Ironic to hear one of the kindest people I know strive to become kinder. I'm not shocked, it's who he is. Watering and shine. What's that? She says watering. Watering and shining light on others until something beautiful grows. Yo, she is really laying it thick for him, innit? She's in love, innit? Watering and shining light on others until something grows. No one's ever spoken to me like about me like that. I just get you motherfuckers in the chat harassing me, calling me names and shit, saying how black I am, taking the piss out of my accent. I hear you guys in the chat. None of you guys say this to me. Why don't you guys say this to me? Why don't you guys say I'm watering and shining light on you, eh? Why don't I ever get that? Fucking hell. Thank you for taking time to hear what I have to say in relation to Daystar's character. Kind regards, Iggy. Wow. Hold on. What's that? Oh, so it's not in order. So this is number 2. Sorry, my bad. What she say here? I never seen this. Oh no, I've seen it already, right? I saw that. I see it already, yeah. Or number 3. No, it's number 3. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, one more left. Daystar Peterson is not the best. Is not the pest you've heard about. He's a gardener. Yo, she's still going with these fucking gardening analogies. I love it. He helps others bloom. Get it? Watering, gardener, bloom. Yo, she's got bars. Any leniency you may afford to him would be something you could be proud of. You see, Daystar has been helping me from the moment I met him. Our paths crossed in 2018. TORY hit in 2018. Legend. While working in the same recording studio. Although he was writing music for another artist, he took the definite initiative to come to my room in his break time and play song ideas he'd written for me. Yeah, I'm sure he did. This resonated with me because he's highly unusual for someone who's already very successful to help others. Music is competitive in that way. We've remained friends since... Friends, eh? Friends. Okay. Alright. Although he's an incredible songwriter, it's my belief that it's his true gift of we've remained friends since. He's genuinely passionate about helping others. He'll go out of his way to help someone if he sees a glimmer of greatness inside. Although he's an incredible songwriter, it's my belief this is his true gift. Seeing what could be and becoming the driving force to make it happen. Wow. He battled and overcame some incredible odds on his path to success. In many ways, he's still battling now. I think that's one of the reasons he always fights hard to elevate others. One of the favorite examples of this is the story of how he came to hire his personal assistant, Mario. Daystar was stopped at a red light with his window down when a guy in his early 20s yelled from the sidewalk, "I'm chasing my dream too, and I'll do anything to work with you. I'm working for Postmates. Please let me give you my resume." Shockingly, Daystar took his number, called the next day and interviewed him for the job. He wasn't in need of another employee. He still created an internship and later a full-time job for Mario. Okay, cool. That is pretty cool. If that story is true, that's pretty cool, to be fair. I've seen him silently help people empower themselves in ways, in this way, time and time again. He creates space for others to be great. I deeply appreciate the person he is and have never witnessed him lose his temper or raise his voice at a woman. He's always been incredibly respectful to me, and I refuse to believe that he would do anything of malice, especially to a woman. Yo, Iggy was riding for him hard. I like this. I'm not gonna lie. I like this. I like this. I like this. You know, I like this. Iggy was riding for him hard, and to be fair, I don't know why she's getting so much stick online. Like, people are really outraged and pissed off that she wrote this letter. As you can see from this lady who writes for the Business Insider, who's also not a fan of Dave Portnoy, this woman called Cat 10 Barge. She's like, Iggy Azalea clearly had no idea to made public. She came on Twitter and said she was neutral in the case, hadn't even spoken to Tory recently. According to her, she hired staff. Wow. So everyone's really upset that Iggy fucking wrote this letter in support of Tory, but I don't understand why in America you guys have an inability to accept when people have a difference of opinion. Like, if you believe Megan got shot by Tory Lanez, that's fine. You're allowed to think that, but other people are allowed to think different, especially if they know the people involved. If Megan's friends think she was telling the truth, that's fine. If Tory's friends think he's telling the truth, that's fine also. Obviously, the most important factor in this is the fucking court and the jury, and they unfortunately said, you know, most likely Tory did it, so he's in prison, so it doesn't really matter what we think. But I don't really understand this inability for people to not accept other people may have differing opinions from them. It's really bizarre. But one of the interesting things about this I think is really interesting to check out is this. I saw a post actually, which I guess for me is an indication of how difficult it's going to be for Megan to restart her career, because I think similar to the Lizzo thing is going to be hard to prove, right, in a court of law. I think so personally, because it's a little bit he said, she said. But the issue about the Lizzo thing with her kind of abusing her fucking backup dancers is more so what it's going to do for her reputation, because Lizzo's got an image of being a nice, you know, the nice girl, right, the girl's girl, whatever it may be. But now, because everybody's, you know, seen the quote unquote truth or kind of had a peek behind the curtain, it's going to be very difficult to have that same persona. It's hard to do that. It's really, really hard to do that. So let's just quickly calm down here. And one thing I think is difficult is that everybody in the industry, sorry, hasn't come out to congratulate Megan Thee Stallion on this sentence either. That's the really hard bit for her. And if you scroll here on this page that I follow, big up Milagro, the absolute legend, one of the best streamers out there, she posted this. So Drake and Davido, obviously, if you guys know and you think about Afro beats or Afro pop, you know who Davido is. But Drake liked the post that I spoke about here. This one that Tory Lanez wrote, right? The statement basically denying that he did anything wrong. And Drake liked it, and so did Davido. So a lot of people in the industry believe that Tory didn't do it. So Megan's going to fight a real big uphill struggle to kind of get back to where she is, because there's going to be a lot of people in the industry who legitimately think she fucked Tory Lanez over. That's the main issue she has. So I'm really interested to see how she approaches it after. Like, what does she do? Does she sit down for another interview with Oprah? Or no, not. I think she's the one with Gayle King. Does she sit down with Oprah now and have like a tell-all interview, really kind of owning up to shit? Does she just pretend like it didn't happen and just keep dropping music and hope people forget about it? I don't think so. I think similar to the Rihanna and Chris Brown thing, I think this was going to follow both of them. It's going to follow Tory and Megan until the day they die. It's going to be something that's going to hang over their head forever. But I think for Megan, she needs to address it. I think if she wants to drop music, what I would do, you have to kind of do some sort of interview just to kind of put it all out there, talk about how you feel, get the sympathy points, and then put out your music. I think if she just tries to ignore it and put out the music, it's going to look like she's heartless, and it's going to look, you know, it's just going to look weird. You know, people are not going to get it. One guy's in prison for 10 years and you're just out here twerking. It's not going to work that way. It's not going to work, or it's not going to it's not going to be well received in the court of public opinion. I think so. But hey, what do I know? Let's move on from that one, because what stuff is boring. What are you guys saying in the chat? Uche saying he's not going to do the full 10 years unless he has any priors. No, yeah, I think Academics was talking on his stream and he said most likely he would do 7.5. Still a long time though. He'll probably have to do 7.5 because he's already doing time served a year. And I think in LA, they said you have to serve like 80% of your sentence or something. So he'll probably end up doing 7.5 years. I think this is the only thing Megan's going to be known for. Exactly 7:30. Megan cancelled free Tory. Exactly Stingagoo. I don't know. It's just a funny case to see. It's just a really funny case because, yeah, it's just funny. It's just funny, innit? What can you do? I'm not going to go over it too much. Let's switch up to stuff. Want to talk about this. So most of you guys know I follow some of the No Jumper stuff, and bloody hell, man, like I spoke about SMACC the other day one of the people who's associated, or one of the co-hosts on Back on Fig, and all those guys over there. And he unfortunately got into a car crash, no, a motorbike crash, because he rides a motorbike, and he got involved in a crash with 3 other cars, I think, and completely totaled his bike, and I think broke his foot and stuff, and now he's in hospital. And I think at the time there was rumors around him whether or not he was inebriated, whether or not he was drunk or high. So far, I'm hearing through the grapevine. Again, I haven't done more research to find out exactly what happened, but I'm hearing from people that leave comments on my previous clip that he wasn't drunk. He wasn't under the influence or anything. It was just like an accident, right? An accident that happened when you're on a bike or when people are driving. It just is what it is. So he kind of wasn't at fault for something, because I think people are trying to say that he may have tried to swerve out the way of the fucking crash, and that's what ended up fucking him over. Either way, he's in hospital now. And SMACC, if you watch Back on Fig, has got a very raspy voice. He always looks a little bit high because he's maybe smoking and doing other drugs. But wow, man. This, similar to Brendan Schaub, when he stops drinking whiskey for a week and his face like deflates. It's insane to see how much better he sounds vocally, because he's been in fucking hospital just drinking water and fucking, you know, I don't know, eating fucking custard all day. Look how different, and look how clear-minded SMACC sounds. Even his voice sounds different.
That's right, show in the LA show, because we're going up. I will be there, whether I'm in a wheelchair, crippled, blind, or crazy. I will be there. I did last time. If I'm on crutches and everything, tell that nigga 6, I'm gonna fire your ass, nigga. Tell 6 I said what's up. The show, man. I love y'all, man.
Bro.
All right, come see me, nigga.
Nigga, I was supposed to go today. I had to do this fucking news, man.
Nigga got caught not going to see the homie, bro.
Nigga, I told you I'm going to go today. You come on, can't nobody.
Like, even his face looks different. Like, it's fucking crazy what drugs and alcohol can do to you, innit? I know I enjoy myself and I have a good time, but really, in the long and short of it, like, that stuff is super destructive, especially booze. Like, he sounds different. His vocal cords sound like they've been fucking reconstructed over the time he's been in a hospital bed, because he's not been having, you know, he's not had alcohol to all his vices. It's fucking wild, man. It really made me think, whoa, like, you know, myself included, a lot of people would benefit from just like leaving everything alone and just living a sober lifestyle and just drinking water and having fucking coffees, because like, he looks like a different human being. Like, he legitimately looks, you know, you know, like he's got blood back in his face. His voice sounds different. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he actually looks semi like a human being, like he's not comatose. But that's the thing though, man. It's just so much fun getting on it and drinking and partying and stuff. It's just so fun in the moment, but long term it is really, really destructive. It really does fucking fuck with your brain, fuck with your insides, fuck with your face, fuck with your voice. What can you do? Moving on from that, we got this clip to play also that I didn't talk about or feature last time because I forgot to cover it. But essentially, one of my favorite rappers from TDE, Top Dog Entertainment, is Reason. And he sat down with Back on Fig a couple of days ago for an interview, which was really good. A really kind of open interview. If you know Reason and his music, or you just know Reason as a person, you'll know from his previous interviews that he's done on Joe Budden podcasts and stuff, he's really open. He's an incredibly vulnerable and honest type of person when it comes to art and the music he creates. He's got a really personal connection with his fans. But whenever he's on radio talking about his situation, being on a label and music and whatever, he's always incredibly honest, maybe to a fault. He'll talk about the stuff that he's done wrong, the stuff the label's done wrong, and just kind of lay it bare. And I guess on this episode of Back on Fig, he was frustrated because he's got an album soon to be dropping, and he's basically frustrated in general with the label because he feels like the label's been kind of holding him back a bit, and just kind of, you know, creative differences that artists have with labels. You hear it all the time. It's a common complaint. So he sat on stream, spoke about his complaints, but then because it was live streamed, one of the presidents of Top Dog, Musa, happened to be watching, and I guess this was the straw that broke the camel's back, because he had enough and he called live on air to TRELL and wanted to address some of the claims that, you know, Reason was putting out there about the label doing this wrong and that wrong. And in the process, he spoke incredibly rudely, I felt, to his artists. Imagine, this is on the phone is Musa. He's one of the presidents of Top Dog Entertainment. He's actually the son of Top Dog himself. And he is essentially Reason's boss. And he gets on stream, calls the guy, and essentially, you know, suns him live on air. And I think it's incredibly, incredibly unprofessional to do so. But also the worst thing about it is that I felt like TRELL, and maybe to a lesser extent Matt Wop, kind of played a role in antagonizing the situation. Like, they kind of made the situation what it is by essentially kind of, you know, riling Reason up and laughing at his situation and just kind of being messy. And that's what I feel like led to the situation. So TRELL and MACWAP do have a part to play in this nonsense, unfortunately, but just hear how disrespectful this phone call is. I feel like this stuff is something you could do in private. You shouldn't be airing out your business or, you know, scolding your employees in public like this. I think this is really, really bad look.
You know, hey, Mac, you know, like niggas don't even be getting on here talk. Normally us nigga at TDE we take the down for when niggas albums ain't coming out, and it's never us holding albums. If niggas want to drop records, niggas drop records. You know what I'm saying? But niggas never gonna jump on line and air shit out. But Big Reed, you want to have a convo? Let's have a convo, man. It sound like you don't want to be here, damn near.
Nah, I never said that. I said I would never do it no other way. Let's go viral since you want to do it. Come on.
Hey, let me start by saying this though, right here. Hey, T-Real, can you name me 10 Reason songs right now? You from LA? You a LA native? Can you name me 10 Reason songs right now?
No.
Why is that?
I have
Mac,
no fucking.
Mac, hold on. Mac, you from the team, Mac. Can you name me 10 Reason songs?
Of course.
Honestly. Name them.
No. Who's a funny ass nigga?
Like, imagine your president of your label saying that to you. This is Reason, that's a rapper. He's calling up and he's grilling the guys and saying, okay, you're complaining about us, but can you guys name 10 Reason songs? That's an awful thing to say. Exactly, Coyle. I was about to say that. The funny thing about saying that sort of statement is as a way to kind of, you know, demonstrate that Reason maybe isn't as popular as he thinks he is. I don't think many people can name 10 songs. Like, I was saying this the other day to somebody. I forgot who I was saying it to, but because I DJ on the side and because I like listening to music anyway, and because I'm a fucking loner and don't spend any time outside of streaming with people like a lot, I don't really meet up friends that much. I have a lot of free time to do stuff. I listen to a lot of music. But there's one time I was speaking to somebody, I forgot who I was speaking to. I was like, I think a lot of these music stats and numbers are not real, are fugazi, because I don't know many people who listen to music, everything that comes out, as much as the stats say they do, because the stats make it seem like everybody's winning, but I don't think people listen to music that much. So if that's the case, I don't think there's many people out there who can name 10 songs, because people, especially in the streaming era, in the playlist era, you just play a playlist, and sometimes on most playlist settings, they have the ability to just, even if your playlist finishes, it'll just knock the next song into the list, because based off the algorithm of stuff that you already previously liked. So you don't have to even know what a song is or the lyrics or the name of it. So to say that as a kind of as a diss is really weird, because I don't think there's many people there who can name 10 Kendrick records. I don't think there's many people out there who can name 10 Schoolboy Q records. Like, there's not many of them that could do that. You have to be really balls deep in music to actually give a fuck at that. And also, that isn't a fucking good thing to say for people, especially if they're on a label. I think it's really bad look.
All I'm trying to say is, right, even when niggas say niggas came in at weird times, hey, Dave, my nigga, Doc, my nigga, I love them niggas. Dave never wanted us to sign Reason. He called him a substitute teacher.
Jesus. Get your shit off.
Dot always said that Reason had talent.
Did you hear that? He's exposing things that probably people only know behind the scenes. Like, the other guy, Dave Freer, I guess, didn't want to sign you because he said he thought you had no talent. Like, imagine saying this. Now, I know this is kind of to give him a bit of a blie. There is another narrative out there that exists that says Reason's been doing this for a while, right? They're saying Reason's been doing this for a while. He goes on streams or interviews and he rants about TDE, and they've kind of warned him in the past, hey, you need to relax by, you know, mentioning us in this way or talking about us in this way. And I guess this was, again, the straw that broke the camel's back. And there's also another thing to add context to this. It seems like Reason and Musa are quite close. Even though he's a president over there at TDE, he's obviously kind of young by the sound of his voice. So maybe they're close in age or they're just friendly. So maybe he feels that he can say what he wants to say to him because they're friends. But it's still incredibly, incredibly unprofessional to do this, man. I can't get by how incredibly unprofessional it is to do this. Really unprofessional.
It's going to take more than just talent in this game right now. And everybody know that. if you talk about weird times, you got Rayvon. Rayvon got motion. Rayvon ain't got an album out, a project out yet. You got Doechii. She got motion. She ain't got an album out.
And now he's comparing Reason with other artists on the label. He's talking about Rayvon. He's talking about Doechii. He's trying to compare Reason's career trajectory of being like a really, you know, introspective lyricist type of artist to a female rapper like Doechii, who's new in the game, kind of young, has a completely different demographic. It's just an awful way to kind of make your point. And obviously it's kind of done in a more so of a mocking way as opposed to just actually trying to help.
They're trying to be funny. Wait, hey, Moose, you burnt out.
Let him cook.
Let him cook, bro. Let him cook. Let him cook, bro. Let him cook, bro. Let him cook.
Even when I hear niggas saying features and everything, keep
Let
in
him
mind,
cook.
like, oh yeah, you could have got an ESTG feature, but what does that do for Reason? Like, what is that gonna do for Reason? Like, even when you say you can't get in contact with SZA and all that, like this, like you didn't have features from everybody, including Q. I'm just trying to understand it, man.
Anyway, you get the point of it. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's like 8 minutes long, but it's really unfortunate, really unprofessional. I think it's similar to, like, I don't know if you guys have worked in bars or you've worked in stores and stuff, and then you have those managers who like publicly scold their employees on the shop floor. I always hated that shit. Like, I would legitimately want to punch somebody in the face if they did that. Like, that stuff used to get on my nerves. Usually those managers had like power trips and would chastise you on the shop floor in front of other fucking customers and shit and try and make you look dumb. It was always, I feel like, really people that are incredibly insecure that would do that sort of stuff. And again, it's just unprofessional. If you want to scold me, bring me downstairs away from everybody and do it privately, but you don't need to do this on air in front of people. And there's this narrative that is going around with these Back on Fig guys where they're saying this was a good promotion for Reason's album. I don't think so. I don't think many people who don't give a fuck about Reason are going to watch this interview and think, you know what, I'm going to download his song. Or I'm going to buy his song on fucking Apple and shit. They're not going to do that. Maybe people like me who give a shit about his music and music overall will. But I think the regular person will just watch this, think it's a bit fucked up, and then keep it moving. This idea that this is going to actually do stuff for a Reason's career is nonsense. And also, I wouldn't want to be successful based on getting embarrassed. You know, that's what I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to have to publicly get publicly scolded, get myself flocked in public, then for me to become successful. I'd rather just work, grind, connect with my fans, make good music, and then get successful that way. So that's obviously not great. And then I think as well, as a last point, I don't think it's great for the Back on Fig brand that they have had this happen, because it's not providing a safe space for artists, because essentially they're getting artists into trouble. This is what it's looking like. By being messy, by being trolly, by trying to get a viral moment, by asking the tough, uncomfortable questions, they're essentially getting the artists that are coming on stream in trouble. Another example, recently what they did, they had an interview with that guy who's called the Mexican OT, and he was on their show. And, you know, don't get me wrong, Back on Fig is obviously filmed in T-Ro's house, one of his spare rooms or something. And maybe because it's his home, it's a bit different, the dynamic, but he invited, you know, OT there, the Mexican dude who's kind of blowing up now. And then, you know, after a while, I guess, after an hour or so, I guess he got bored or he wanted to do the other part of the show. And he essentially kind of like, you know, told them to leave in no uncertain terms. But they obviously were shocked at the time. You know, they were kind of surprised. Oh, we're getting asked to leave. They weren't told beforehand, and it kind of looked a bit awkward. And they kind of left. They were kind of really gracious about it, and they kind of walked out. But it was very unprofessional. It came across like he was like, he had enough, like he was booing him out of his house. It was really weird. And obviously now Mexican OT is going to do many podcast interviews and stuff and gone on and shit. But I just feel like those sort of instances don't make them look as cool as they think it does. It kind of just makes it look like it's not really a safe space, you know, for artists to kind of go and vent or to promote themselves and shit when they're going to be messy or when they're going to get bored of you and shit and then try and chuck you out of the house. It's a bit strange. But anyway, thoughts and feelings got to Reason. Hopefully he keeps his head up strong. But again, this is further proof that all those things that SZA was complaining about with TDE was right. The fact that Kendrick left, obviously not to do with TDE management, I'm sure, but Kendrick leaving was a big loss. SZA always complaining about her album before, I think, what's that thing? Was it not Control? Is it Control? What was the album that came out recently? Is it Control? Whatever the album is that came out recently, she was complaining before it dropped that it wasn't, you know, she wasn't allowed to get dropped and shit, she was getting held back. And she generally just always had a bit of a, you know, fraught relationship with TDE. But now you know why, because they kind of run it like a gang. It's weird. It's kind of like loads of this weird intimidation shit. I don't like that, man. Run as a business, and also because it's black owned and it's kind of independent in a way, you would think they would learn the lessons of all the labels and what they've done wrong and try and create something near a perfect label, like try and rewrite the wrongs of a label. But similar to Joe Budden and his podcast, I think what people see is that when you get into a point of power, you're getting put in position, it's very difficult not to repeat the mistakes of others that you felt like did you wrong, because the industry kind of encourages you to be a bit of a dickhead. You know, the game, the content community, the content scene encourages you to be messy, for a viral moment, to get clicks and views, but actually in the long run it's not the best thing. So maybe they're repeating the same kind of mistakes in their own way that Joe Budden did when he was talking about, I'm for the creator, I want to make this podcast for my team, and it's a friends thing. And then obviously when the money side coming in and the contracts are getting discussed, they all fell out, him and Rory and stuff and more, you know, because of contracts and money and ownership and all that shit. So all the stuff that he said he wouldn't do, he kind of did to his friends. The stuff that he kind of got, you know, suffered from in the music industry. And it feels like these guys are doing the same thing. They hate all the mainstream radio shows and shit, but they're basically doing the same thing mainstream radio shows do by being messy and creating viral moments just for the sake of it and not caring about the artists that came on. So I don't like that, man. I thought that was fucking lame. I thought that was fucking whack. Anyway, moving on. So this clip of Theo Vaughn getting spoken to in 2011 or 2019, sorry, I just saw this on the Fire and the Kids sub. I think this is really interesting because I feel like there's a lot of like revisionist history going on with Theo and Brendan, because I've always said I felt like when King and Instinct started, it was probably the best platform. No, it was probably the best representation of Brendan that existed before then, because I feel like just before King and Instinct started, I feel like that's when the kind of hate train for Brendan was also revving up. People starting to notice how much of a douchebag he was, how thin-skinned he was, how unable he was to kind of, you know, to laugh at himself and shit, to be ridiculed and shit. Everything was amazing. He was a beast of a dad, beast of a guy, blah, 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 blah. But then when Theo used to come on the Fire and the Kid, the whole reason why King of the Sting started was because him and Brendan would kind of go back to back, you know, back and forth, ripping each other. And then that kind of led into them making their own show, King and the Sting. And of course, you know, it went to do what it went to do, and then obviously Theo left. But that was the one show where you got to see Brendan get ripped into pieces, because early episodes of King and the Sting, Theo was brutal. He didn't really know Brendan too well. Brendan would be laughing at everything he was saying, and he just would go, and you would see Brendan kind of get ripped into, and it kind of made people, you know, look, oh, okay, cool. He can at least laugh at himself for a little bit. So I kind of enjoyed it. But this guy didn't like it, and he let Theo know in 2019. I think his name is John Fusco or something. I remember this guy. I think his name is like, I forgot this guy's name. I think it's like Gregory or George, and I think it's like Corey. I think his name's Corey or something. I remember this guy because I used to do his fitness program. He had like a fitness thing, and I think he's well known for doing like lunges. He does like one lap of a track and field track doing lunges, and that's really works really well for your abs and your core. I remember doing that. I remember buying knee pads and literally going to my park and doing fucking lunges up and down the fucking park like a fucking psycho. So I remember this guy and his podcast. I don't know if he still does it, but it's just from 2019. And this guy here is named John Fasco, whatever his name is, and he basically has some very stern words for Theo about Brendan and about what he thinks of the King and the Sting show when it was still on.
We do. So you got a new show with SCHAUB, right?
King yeah, we got a new show, King and the Sting. Yeah.
So I'm flying solo here. I've listened to 2 episodes. They're really funny. They're really good.
Thanks, man.
I'd say 90% of the reason it's really good is you.
Right.
And I feel like when you're hitting punchlines, he pops the balloon purposely.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, you think?
I know. No, I know, because when someone's rolling and shit, listen, and when
listen, he right down the punch.
Straight talk. I'm speaking for my own, not business.
Yeah, it's fine.
When someone's rolling, obviously as a listener, you can feel it. And I know when you're setting up that joke about that boy back home, and then boom, like his word will just cut it off, and it'll take away your ability to drop the hammer and boom,
Yeah.
you know, and do that gender neutral haircut deal.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? so that right
That
there,
GNC baby, that gender neutral cut.
yeah. So that right there is competition. So you're a smart guy. You're probably aware, but that dude, you guys may be partners because he's got a good following. You got a good following, but that dude wants to outshine you every show. Straight talk, wireless, brother.
Right.
Every show. I don't give a fuck who it makes uncomfortable. If Brendan's uncomfortable because you are fucking funnier than.
Well, he may be, but
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if he is.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, here's a bad look for Theo Von and all the hard work he's put in. So you got a new show. If this dude keeps stepping on you, if he does theoretically, when you're dropping those fucking hitters, that's gonna make the listener say like, man, yeah, I listen to this show for Schaub because your greatness is being kind of pushed on because you're allowing it. You're allowing it.
Yeah.
Sure, he may be doing it, but you could stop it. You're a man. It's not like a fist fight's going to happen, but a serious talk can. And then the show becomes better for the listener because you're fucking funny. But if I can't feel your punchline, man, I'm gonna check out another podcast.
Yeah, no, well, look, I appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, and I'll keep tabs if I feel like that occurs, you know. I mean, there's moments where, like the other day, I went in there and I was not feeling good and I didn't want to do anything. And Brendan is, like, extremely charming. A lot of people tune in. You know, he's, like, this kind of big, like, lovable kind of, you know, character. And people love him, you know. And so I was grateful that day for his energy because I needed it to get through the episode. Yes, and I was just so grateful.
That's a good partnership.
Yeah, I don't want to dog him. I was just using that as an example.
No, and I respect it. I think, look,
too late, mate. Too late. I don't want to dog him. Too late, my friend. Anyways, I think this guy's being unfair. I don't think he was a fan of Brendan from before. I think, like I think Brandon said, or somebody said here, Brendan I think said here, who said it? Someone said, it's weird to have such strong opinions on the show only 2 episodes in. My personal thing with this, which I don't understand, is that I remember in the early parts of the show, Brendan was getting ripped on the Friday Night Kids subreddit. I remember when King of the Sting started, because I was part of the sub at the time. People were saying, as a criticism, that Brendan wasn't sharp enough to kind of hit back. He just kept repeating Theo's jokes. So I don't even know what that guy's talking about. Like, Brendan would never kind of step on a joke. He'd kind of let just Theo rant and get at him and then just repeat the punchline back and kind of laughed. Kind of the stuff that he does now, he kind of just parrots a joke. But then over time, he kind of got, you know, his own little rippings and his own little fucking disses that he had. And he was able to kind of fire back at Brendan. But I thought the early episodes were actually pretty decent, especially when the set was like yellow and black, that kind of like Bumblebee sort of color. I thought Brendan did fairly okay on them. Then as the show went on and they stopped doing the King and the Sting like thing where they started ripping each other and it just turned into a podcast, that's when it sort of started to become a bit shit. But when they were actually making it like a show, they had people, you know, was it Rape My Drip? They had people sending in pictures of their fucking aunts and their mums and saying if you'd bang them and shit. All that stuff was quite funny. It kind of worked really well, to be honest. Obviously, Theo made the show, but I think this guy's being unfair in his early criticism of fucking Brendan. But one thing is interesting. Theo kind of already said 2 episodes in or whatever this was, he was kind of not feeling it. So Theo was always, because people were saying on the sub, again, that sub is fucking amazing, right? Because those guys were calling it from the beginning that Theo was going to leave. And I think Theo was already in 2019 kind of over it after a few episodes. He just went along with it because if you remember early on, as much as Theo is a legend and does things on his own, you have to also give, you have to give Brendan a tiny bit of credit, because Theo going on the Fire and the Kid and getting Guest of the Year and coming on all the time and having those viral clips of himself on the show, going back and forth with Brendan or ripping into Brian Callen or him and Crystalia, that actually made him famous and kind of helped his career along. So maybe he just felt he kind of owed Brendan because he kept having him on the show. That eventually led to his own podcast and shit. So you can understand why he didn't pull the plug earlier on, you know? He just kind of stayed there. But it's interesting to see that even in 2019, Theo was having doubts about the King and the Sting. Fucking crazy. What are you guys saying in the chat about this? You guys are saying what? This guy reminds me of Sean McCorkle, says Coiler. Yeah, exactly. Very good point. Crazy stuff. Exactly. Brendan says that. Uche is saying this dude must have been a homeless cat long before Cats premiered. Exactly. The OG episodes of Cats was the only time that show was really funny. Exactly, Uche. Yeah. It was actually pretty good. That original set when it was yellow and black, Cat, you know, doing the fucking social media and the questions, Chin and that all involved. It was actually a decent show. They put some effort into it. It was actually well done. But then over time, it just turned into a podcast. That's when it got shit. The guy is true CEO of Chang's, Flaunt My Aunt. Yeah, that's it one, Uche. Flaunt My Aunt. What's he saying is Brendan took away from the momentum and rhythm. No, that's for sure. We know that's a fact, but I think his criticism of Thingamajiggy, of Brendan, is more accurate now. Like that, what he's saying now is more representative of Brendan now, not how it was in the past, in my personal opinion. What's that, Mr. Shaktaka? What are you saying? I'm still laughing at Agostinho trying to pretend the reason he turned off the camera and this was because he had allergies and needed to blow his nose from the allergies. What, bro? Like, anyway, this whole fucking narrative that exists on the chat that every time I blow my nose it's because I've got fucking coke or ket up there is fucking bizarre, to be honest. But you know what? Let it run. I'm actually, you know what I may do? I may actually lean into it. One day I'm going to come on stream. I'm just going to, before I start, I'm going to cover my face in flour. And I'm saying it now on stream, saying it what I'm going to do. And people are going to come on stream and be, oh my God, you got something on your nose. And I'm going to pretend I don't see it. I'm going to do that actually. Because this is hilarious. Like, you guys legitimately think I could do a stream and be doing fucking lines at the same time. Like, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. But hey, you know, let's just get a narrative going. It's fun to have little narratives. You know what I mean? Oh, he's late because he's fucked up. You know, he's blowing his nose because he's a crackhead. So I like it because I want to be a rock star anyway. You know, I want to be fucking Iggy Pop. You know, that's what I want to be. You know, I want to be fucking you know, yeah, the lead singer of fucking Queens of the Stone Age. You know what I mean? I want to be in the Strokes, you know, back in the early 2000s. You know what I mean? That's what I want to be. I want to be a rock star. So if you guys think I'm out here doing the drug ass, you know, fucking the prostitutes, being a menace in the streets, I'll take that. I'll take it. Even though my actual life is fucking horrible, right? My life is boring day to day. I'll take that. If you guys think I'm out here fucking in the streets being a menace, you know, truck walking loads of unsuspecting fucking women, men, cats and dogs, I'll take it, bro. I'll take it. Because that makes me look way better. I'm going to take that shit. Let's move on. What you guys saying, yeah? Like Lindsay Lohan leaving the party. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you remember that, Uche? That famous picture. Uche knows, man. Her in the pumps, her whole feet. I don't even know how much, but imagine, Lindsay Lohan back in the day must be rich. But that must have been like a brick. She must have had like a literal brick of coke in the bathroom when she left that party because her feet looked like she was swimming in fucking cocaine. It was fucking amazing. Yeah, exactly, Kilo. Ago, the Bobby Brown jaw. Yeah, you know, I'm just out here having a good life, you know, having a good life. That lead singer punting the fans in the face. Yeah, you know. Yeah, the Strokes had the palm in the hands. You know the vibes. Anyway, let's continue. So, next one to talk about. One of my favorite channels on the YouTube's Retroactive has another video about Brendan. I haven't watched it, so I'm going to watch it with you guys. It's called The Eternal Gift of Brendan Schaub. It came out a few days ago, but there's a title there. We're going to watch it together and see what he's saying. So big up Retroactive. Subscribe to their channel. It's down there. Check them out. They're absolutely awesome. They put some really good little videos together. So let's see what this video is all about.
Because I just thought Brendan Schaub was lying because Brendan lies a lot. So I thought Brendan had just made something up.
Yeah, I'm going to take but the it came out. I think
Jesus
the lines
Christ, Brendan. Spit it out, man.
They're both minus 115. And my family was really mad at Joe. Really, man. I told Joe this. Like, my dad was pissed. My brother was pissed at him for that. Like, no, you jacking me up.
Joystick.
You jacking me up.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
You see, you know, it's a little embarrassing.
More potential lies and more redacted than ever. Every passing day, it's more and more apparent that Brendan Schaub is the never-ending gift. His former assistant Mark Harley allegedly claims Brendan owes him $16,000 with 5 wage claims now officially lodged in LA, plus stating that Schaub hired a private investigator to...
Oh yeah, by the way, remind me, I need to say this, right? But I honestly think, and again, maybe I'm the wrong person to say this because I speak about this a lot, that I'm a bit of a fucking, what someone call me? I'm a bit of a sadist, right? I love fucking anarchy. I like chaos. I actually think Brendan should take the fight against Derek Lewis or any opponent in bare knuckle, MMA, UFC, whatever he's meant to do. I actually think he should do it. If it's going to be a big enough payday and it's going to wipe away his debts and allow him to pay back everybody that he owes money to, he should actually do it because if he got knocked out or if he won, it would do wonders for his fame. And like my title of the stream says, there's no such thing as an L nowadays. L's don't exist. You can turn everything into your favor. Whether you get your head kicked in a fight, whether you get exposed for cheating, whether you, even if in fucking Crystalia's case, you get exposed for diddling, you can always turn it in your favor if you want to. It's going to be really embarrassing. You're going to be looked at as you're going to be a social pariah in some respects. People are never going to forgive you sometimes for the thing that you may have said. But if you don't have any, you know, shame, right, and your moral compass doesn't even exist, it's at the bottom of the ocean, you should do everything in your power to maintain relevancy. Look at the fucking Island Boys. The Island Boys, two twins, they're now fucking, they're essentially fucking each other on OnlyFans, making millions because there's no such thing as an L. There's no such thing as incest nowadays. It doesn't exist. Because if you do it and you market yourself well, you can become famous again. You can make loads of money. So Brendan actually should take the fight. I think he should take the fight.
To spy on Mark. On top of that, this week he introduced wild lizards to his kids' bearded dragons, which turned murderous instantly, obviously. Still not learning his lesson, he does it a second time before posting the video on Instagram.
I was telling my wife this morning because my kids stay at their grandma's and grandpa's, but then I have to wake up. I got to basically do the Ace Ventura thing, get up the crickets, cut up the lettuce, and the kids don't even play with these fucking bearded dragons. I'm like, I need to do some research. Can I just let these bearded dragons like into the Santa Monica Mountains, man?
By the way, I'm not an animal guy, you know, unfortunately, obviously, because I'm African. There's not many Afs, especially in London, that really give a fuck about pets in that way. So I never really grew up with a, you know, with a need to have one. Maybe now I would like maybe to get a dog sometime in the future, but it's not really ever been my thing. But I want to know, if you're a pet guy, I didn't know this. I always thought it was quite binary. I always thought it was like either you have pets or you didn't. But Brendan's an odd person because he clearly likes to have like pets and shit, but he doesn't take care of them. Like, what is that about? Is that a person? Is that like common in the pet ownership world where somebody likes to have like pets at home, but they just don't give a shit about them? I don't understand. Like, why would you have a pet but then not care for it? It doesn't make sense to me, you know? Like, why would you be so reckless? Why would you, not research and find out how to look after them properly? What the best conditions, like how to keep them healthy and shit, make them happy, whatever it may be. Like, why wouldn't you do that? I don't understand that. It's really odd. And this is coming from a non-pet guy. I don't get why, if you are clearly showing signs of liking pets and wanting them, why don't you take the extra step to look after them properly? Like, he's killing loads of fishes. I get it. Like, this stuff isn't like cats and dogs, but I think if you're a pet person, it doesn't matter. You care about all living animals. So if you're hearing about this guy, incorrectly putting different species of fish in one tank that shouldn't be together, and then the superior one eating the other, it's going to bum you out a bit. You're going to feel a little bit pissed off. It's going to be like, is this kind of animal cruelty? Like RP Tank in this chat. What's going on there? No, you don't. It says he likes fashionable pets, says Kilo. No one does. If not liking pets is a black thing. Yeah, exactly. I didn't say not liking pets, John. I said not having pets. I didn't say not liking them. I didn't grow up with pets because, my mum is afraid of dogs, as most black people are. I don't know if it's like hard-coded in our DNA because we got chased over, the fucking, we got chased over the African plains by, the... we got chased over... over a country by them. I don't know what it is, but a lot of black people don't like dogs, so that's why we don't usually don't have pets and shit. He wants decorations, says Jan. Releasing invasive animals is so redacted and illegal. Exactly. I don't understand. This is what I don't get. Like, why does he keep trying to get these things and keep them as pets when he doesn't look after them well? And then he kind of brags about it like it's nothing. It's like, bro, these are living creatures as well. Like, what are you doing? We're not into enslaving things. Said we said no. It's because we know what slavery is like. Exactly. Uche, my Nigerian mum is so scared of my cat and pets in general. Exactly. African parents just don't like pets. But it's weird because most of my friends who grew up with parents who didn't want pets, when they do get a pet, they fucking love them. Like, a lot of my friends that, they've got like African parents who are like staunchly anti-pets, but as soon as they get the pet, as soon as they get a dog or a cat, they're all over them. And usually the cat or dog loves them more than the actual, friend of mine who maybe bought them and stuff. It's fucking funny. Always happens. Anyway, let's play.
I mean, they're desert. They're desert lizards. I don't. Can you? I don't.
No.
And then I
Not
also,
legally.
I was talking. How I have those bearded dragons, and I thought I caught a lizard in the backyard and thought they could be friends and put in the tank. And they ripped his head off and ate him alive. And so then I caught a bigger one. I'm like, all right, he's too big. This guy's too big. He's gonna be friends with him. I'm like, because my son really wants another lizard, and I don't want to buy one because they're annoying. And so we got this bigger lizard, put him back there. Did I send it to the group chat?
I didn't see it.
I thought I sent it to the group chat, but then I posted on my Instagram story, and then because a lizard eating another lizard, and I posted, and I was like, I'm telling you, these bearded lizards, don't let them fool with your cuteness, man. These things are savages, and this thing tears this lizard up. I'll show you guys when we get off air. I posted my Instagram story, and I was like, that might get me more banned.
To be fair, I don't think that's what happened. I think more than likely, because Brendan loves a good lie, I think what ended up happening, there's always a kernel of truth in his lie. Most likely he uploaded it and he got loads of bad messages. He says he doesn't check messages, he doesn't read comments, but he's lying. He obviously does read comments and messages. Everyone does. He got loads of pushback, loads of people going crazy in the chat, because I'm assuming bearded dragons and lizards and stuff, there's a big community of people that collect and have those things. I know I had a friend who used to have like spiders and all that sort of shit in their home, and lizards and stuff and whatever it may be. There's a group of people who are really passionate about that sort of shit, and I'm sure there's some of them that maybe his fans. They must have attacked him in the DMs, and then he got nervous and thought, you know what, I should delete this now before he gets too crazy. That's what happened. I don't think he had a crisis of conscience and was like, oh, you know what, that's a fucked up video. No, you recorded it firstly, then you uploaded it anyway, so you didn't think it was a bad thing. Most likely his fans told him that was fucked up, and then he took it down because he didn't want it to become a bigger story. So he was smart to react quickly to it and take it down quickly, but he didn't take it off his own volition, but he took it down because he got inundated with bad messages from his fans saying, you're fucked up for doing that, why would you do that, how cruel could you be, blah blah blah, probably threatening to call animal cruelty, all that shit.
That might get me taken down.
And I also hate this thing he's doing at the end, where he's talking about that might get me more banned. It's a new shtick he has, where he pretends like he's being shadow banned when it's stupid. Like, he doesn't say anything worthy of shadow banning. He doesn't really have any strong opinions, apart from the COVID times when he was obviously going around touring and shit, when COVID was on and kind of flaunting the COVID restrictions and shit. He didn't really do anything. He hasn't really done anything that's kind of been worthy of being silenced or deplatformed. If anything, the most risque thing he's done has been still working with Brian, with his rape allegations, and still working with Crystalia with his diddling allegations. That's probably the one thing that probably does him more damage than anything else, because those guys are probably radioactive on the algorithm. But anything else of his own opinion is like, bro, you don't say, like, I would actually prefer it if he did have more strong opinions, because it would actually make him, I feel like, smarter, because you'd have to kind of figure out his fucking points and shit, figure out his arguments and stuff. Like, he'd have to go and do that, but wish him for the best.
No, it's nature.
It's nature.
Yeah, but you never know if you got those idiots who can report and animal abuse and shit like that. So
there you go. That's a big hint. He called everybody idiots, so that's a big hint. Most likely he got inundated with DMs, then he took it down. It wasn't his own, I'm a good guy, I took it down. Fuck off.
Yeah, and eat quick. I went, swallow him right up.
He goes, Daddy. I went, oh my God, that thing is fucking.
Oh boy.
And I had to Google. I'm like, the bearded dragons eat other lizards. And then my son goes, maybe it was just that one. They didn't get along. So he catches another one.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Oh, let's see how it goes. Dude, I got the fucking Ted Bundy of bearded dragons. We toss him in there. He goes, the fuck? Honk. Yeah. I'm like, oh, this is insane.
No love. He's not lonely. He'll just do it.
Oh, no. He's hungry. He's fat. I just took it down.
Oh, okay. I thought something happened.
No, I was just like, yeah, it's not worth it. I mean, he could ruin your Saturday. It was like a Saturday morning, too. It would ruin your Saturday if you're a big lizard fan. But it's just nature, baby.
Nature's metal had so many deaths, so many crazy deaths on that.
Yeah, so.
You gotta love Chin in it. Chin knows where his bread is buttered, mate. Chin knows where his bread is buttered. Don't blame him also, innit? Keep your job, work well, never outshine the master, all those 48 laws of power shit. What, respect to Chin.
I wonder how they get by it.
It must be something to do with education and nature.
I don't know. Well, I could be like, hey, here's education. I don't think so.
No, I mean, because your page isn't.
I also think Instagram, like, Instagram dictates who they like, who they don't.
In Chris Van Vliet's podcast, he mentioned the infamous talk Joe Rogan had with SCHAUB about quitting the UFC.
Do you think that conversation that you had with Joe Rogan?
Oh, Coiler in the chat. Good question. Was BGL a pet to Brendan? That's why he just like discarded him whenever he wanted, right? When he was fed up with him. Maybe he was. Maybe he was a pet. Maybe he was, isn't it? That's why he just was able to kind of discard him so quickly and not really care about his feelings and not pay him and just treat him like a fucking Addy's dispenser. Vending machine. Addy's vending machine was BGL. Actually, did any of you guys watch that interview BGL did recently with some channel? I forgot which one it was. I saw a clip of it on the Fire and the Kid sub. I didn't see anybody talk about it though. Did anybody watch that interview? I didn't see it because I don't know what he's doing now or what he is up to. Maybe he's still doing content, his little skits and stuff, but bless BGL. I hope he gets his money.
Rogan, the intervention, people call it.
I think people would be surprised.
Really? You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd be surprised. I really do. I think he'd fuck you up. There's a certain amount, there's a bridge between you and the very best guys in the world.
I mean, obviously Joe gets all the credit, and that's my brother. You know, we talk all the time.
I love that little name drop. Again, you have to always think that everything this guy says is kind of intentional. It's a LA thing, I'm assuming, right? Obviously he gets all the credit. He's basically, it's him saying, you know, he doesn't deserve all the credit because I was going to quit anyway. And then also name dropping and also reminding you that, hey, me and him are friends, we talk all the time. Yeah, sure you do. That's why he didn't know your kids' names.
And he's major influence in my career, like nobody bigger than him. But in my
what about Brian Callen? What about Brian Callen? That's a bit rude.
Family was really mad at Joe. Really, man. I told Joe this. Like, my dad was pissed. My brother was pissed at him for that. Like, you see, you know, it's a little embarrassing. But my brother and my dad didn't know. Is like, you know, before I even walked out for that last UFC fight, I looked at my team before. They were like, "You're up, dude." And they're like 3-2. I looked at my team, and went last one, and they're like, "Oh damn, I didn't want."
You know what's funny about this narrative that he kind of spits out? If you watch This Is Not Happening, that story thing that he did, which was probably one of his best bits he's got on there. That was one of the ones that he kind of got help with Bert from to kind of hone down his storytelling ability. He says that he always wanted to be a champion, but then now he's saying that he never wanted to fight and he wanted to give up after that last fight that he had before the last fight. So it's all over the place. But the funny thing about that intervention, even looking back at it, I think we can all agree, even the chat can agree, it was a little bit much from Rogan. Right, to go that hard on him live on air like that about his, you know, he was still a professional UFC fighter at that time was a bit much. Even though he was terrible and he was losing, you know, his knockouts towards the end were really brutal, and it was getting to a point where if he kept fighting, it might do some serious long-term damage to him. He's already showing signs of CTE. Imagine if he kept on fighting. So maybe, you know, whatever, it was a bit much. But let's just say this: Brendan needs more of those chats, clearly. Because he's not somebody that learns, you know, he doesn't take feedback well. Every time somebody tries to give him feedback, he thinks they're hating. So he actually needs people to speak to him the way that Joe did to get it through his skull. Because in his head, if you talk to him nicely about stuff, he doesn't listen, you know? So he does need you to talk to him in that way. So kind of understand why Rogan approached it that way, because he's his friend and he knows how to get through to him. And he had to get through to him in that manner. It was unfortunate it was on air, but in the end, it kind of helped him because now look at him. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't have to fight anymore in his underwear in a cage. He tells jokes on stage. He makes money, you know, being redacted and speaking into a microphone. Rogan kind of helped. Big up I.
He pretends to be cancelled to compete with Chris D'Elia. I'm more cancelled than you, bro.
Thank you, I agree with that, but I also think he does the cancelled thing because he wants to be cancelled. Because as dumb as Brendan is, he's not like super, super dumb. He knows that nowadays being cancelled and having people kind of, you know, having people campaigning against you, trying to get you deplatformed is actually a good thing because it puts more eyes on you. It gets you spiked up on Google Trends. It gets people talking about you on social. You become a trending topic. He knows that. So he kind of purposely wants to get cancelled so that he can kind of, you know, have a little bump in his career and kind of ride that wave. That's what he's doing. And if you constantly talk about how much you're silenced, you know, it kind of sounds like you're fighting against the establishment sort of shit. It's just annoying. We all know what's going on, you know. Anyway, let's continue.
Want to do it? I'm like, I'm never doing this again. So I knew it was the last one, but then the fighter in me when Joe brought that up I was embarrassed and I was pretty emotional. But thank God he did that.
But do you not go like, man, we could have talked about this off camera?
He goes, I didn't think we were gonna go that deep. Let's not post that. We don't want to post it. And Brian's like, I agree. Let's not post that. I went, no, you're out of your mind, man. Let's post it. He's like, why? I'm like, because there's a lot of guys who feel the way I do. This might help somebody else.
Nah, it just got posted because it got posted. I think they regretted it after the fact, but by that time it was already up and having loads of views. I think this is revisionist history, in my opinion. But I also think, this is my theory, I think Joe, for everything people say, I think Joe's a really good dude. Personally, I've always said this before. I think if anybody else had the power that Joe Rogan has in that comedy community, they would be fucking tyrants. They would be unbearable. Joe's probably the nicest guy out of all those guys in relation to his fame and his money and his fucking notoriety. He's really nice. So I think Joe actually did regret saying that to Brendan. In my opinion, my theory is that Joe made like a personal promise to himself when he did that he was going to do everything in his power to help Brendan. Which is why, if you think about it, when that thing happened after the fact, Brendan's appearances on Rogan bumped up. So Rogan clearly, I think, was intentional in that, okay, if I'm gonna make him quit the UFC, I'm gonna provide him with an out. And an out he provided him was getting him on the Joe Rogan Experience a lot of the times. That would help with the viewers. It would help with fucking getting him more eyes, getting him more followers and shit. He knew what he was doing. Maybe putting him in touch with fucking putting him in touch with fucking Cast Media, getting sponsorships and ads on the podcast. So I think that's why Joe went out of his way to never not say anything bad about Brendan, always be positive about him and his comedy, invite him on his shows in the Comedy Store, platform him and have him be one of the most appeared guests on the show because he felt bad about that one episode. That's my theory. A bit weird, a bit out there, but that's my theory.
He also made a bold statement on Bradley Martin's Raw Talk, considering his ex-assistant's text leaks.
And like Charlemagne said this, and he's wildly successful. Charlemagne goes, if you notice, the most successful people, what's the one thing they have in common? They'll have wives or girlfriends that hold them down.
Yeah,
they're not wasting time and energy and resources and chasing all these random.
I love that when he coughs. It's like the body has a way of reacting to your bullshit, innit? No? The body has a way, like he couldn't say it with a straight face. He couldn't say it without coughing, because we've all seen the addies and baddies text biz. We've all seen the DMs from the other girls get leaked and shit. We've all seen that shit. So why are you sitting there trying to pretend to be, husband of the year, beast of a husband and shit? We know what you get up to behind closed doors, mate. We know the deal. Come on. Let's not lie. Let's go back one more time. I love the little cough. And it's funny too, he's using Charlemagne as an example. Charlemagne also, was a serial cheater and only stopped cheating when, his wife threatened him with divorce and he was threatened with losing his family. So he thought, hey, I'm gonna change my ways, but I wouldn't be taking any marriage advice for fucking Charlemagne the God either, to be fair. One more time.
And like Charlemagne said this, and he's wildly successful. Charlemagne goes, if you notice, the most successful people, what's the one thing they have in common? They'll have wives or girlfriends that hold them down.
Yeah,
they're not wasting time and energy and resources and chasing all these random girls.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap.
Then another intriguing claim, he's suing Showtime for sacking him for having COVID. That doesn't even make sense.
Have you had any
I don't think he understood the clip. Brendan isn't sacking Showtime. Brendan's saying that Showtime nearly fired him back in the day because he got COVID, which makes sense, because if you remember back then when everybody was hysterical about COVID and we didn't know what we know about COVID now, and the fact that they rushed the vaccine and the lockdowns were fucking inhumane and all that malarkey, blah, blah, blah. When we were all scared and we were all locked down, Bryan and Brendan were two of the only people out there that was touring and shit, right? Like going on tours, doing meet and greets and shit, and just being fucking dickheads about it and kind of rubbing in people's faces. And obviously, Brendan was also kind of being a bit anti-vaxxy back then when it wasn't in vogue to be anti-vaxxy. So obviously, Showtime being a fucking, being what they are, a major corporation, they weren't going to ride with that. So he had to kind of tone it down a bit. So I understood why they were going to fire him, because at that time, it was sacrilege to say, this was a lab leak and all this malarkey. You couldn't say that online. So it made sense why Showtime would have tried to fire him. but he's not suing anybody. You know what I mean?
Problems with employees.
Yeah, Zach is Jan. They were the first to spread it and get it. It's just, I don't get it, man. They were acting like they were essential workers. No, people need to hear us. They need to fucking see us on stage. They need to fucking hear, you know, Bryan talk about being a man and Brenda talk about fucking bean cheese. Like, fuck off.
These are with like brands, or like, have you issues that you had to like overcome?
Not really. I mean, I'm trying to think. When I was at Showtime and I got COVID, they wanted to fire me because I got COVID. This is like,
what? How do you fire someone for getting COVID?
I was like, good luck. Like the lawsuit, is that in my contract? Good luck. But
again, he's not being honest. He nearly got fired because he was being anti-COVID, not because he got COVID at the time. Just remember, back then, 2020, whenever it was, when everyone was hysterical about COVID, being anti-COVID and, you know, touring and, you know, talking about ivermectin and shit and kettlebell swings would get you in big trouble.
Shout out to...
but why would they fire you if you had COVID? I don't get it.
One of the lawyers just had it out for me that worked for CBS Showtime and was like, oh, this is the reason we can fire him. So they got on the horn. They had like this big meeting, and my boss, Brian Day, was like, dude, it's not good. You got COVID. I'm like, what's that have to do with anything, dude? I feel great. He's like, that's the problem. You're advocating that COVID's not that bad. I'm like, dude, I don't feel bad. My cardio got better. And he started laughing. I'm like, no, I'm serious, dude. I ride my bike every day.
Challenge.
Yeah, I was like, I feel great, man.
My cardio got better. Imagine trying to make that a imagine being that desperate to be an edgelord contrarian guy. You say after you got COVID, yeah, like a respiratory virus, somehow your cardio got better. Bro, you're riding an e-bike. He would go on trails riding his e-bike thinking he was cycling. Like, don't get me wrong, trail, you know, riding a mountain bike, you know, whatever they're called, MTB bike, that's electric, probably is fun on trails, I'd assume. But let's not lie and pretend that's actually cycling.
Yeah. He's like, you can't say that. I was like, bro, if you fire me though, like, where's in my contract? It says if I get COVID, you can let me go.
Chris D'Elia's prison sentence, co-hosting with SCHAUB, appears to be working, as everything Brendan does is clearly driving the man insane.
I don't think he does stand
Is he a British comic?
No, he's American,
he's
isn't
American.
he? Yeah. I don't know.
Wow, man, he's a good actor.
Oh, does he be British in it and stuff?
I don't know.
Oh, wow, this guy just saying shit, huh?
Oh, he's gonna tell me you don't believe he goes.
I think people say this before. I'm not the first person to say it. People say on the Friday Kids subreddit a lot. Chris D'Elia's punishment for allegedly diddling is that he has to rely on Brendan for a wage, and he has to sit next to him every single week doing a show. That's actually his punishment. I know the victims out there probably don't like that being his punishment. They probably want to see him in prison and shit and want to see him destitute and out on the streets begging for money. But his actual real life punishment for diddling and all those scores of women he's abused over the years, allegedly, is that he has to rely on Brendan for a fucking paycheck. Big up Stinger Goo. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the $2.
He that white boy that lies too much.
Exactly. Oh, man. It's almost impressive how much he lies. I say this before. I think in the earlier streams, I used to always make the kind of analogy, or no, I used to always say I used to kind of use an example, you know, the kids I grew up with, one of the kids who used to kind of lie about the computer consoles he had, right? I don't think that's a good, it's a good example to use. I don't think so. Brendan's another breed, because back then when you're young, you just want to impress your friends. You want to be cool. You want to have friends. Like, so you just say anything, right? You say you know karate. You say all this sort of nonsense when you're a child, like you're under 10 years old. But when you're a grown up, like lying about shit like this is just weird. Yo, big up Triple I appreciate you.
Probably got fired for trying to truck walk someone who works with Showtime's wife.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. That's true. Imagine if you nearly got fired because of that, trying to hit on some fucking, some runner or some show producer or something. That would be fucking hilarious. But yeah, Brendan's lies, Brendan's whatever. But like I said, Chris D'Elia's biggest punishment is that he has to rely on Brendan SCHAUB for a check. Do you remember there was times where Chris would call into the Fire and the Kid or King and the Sting? He'd be flexing about his money. He'd be talking about all these sold out tours. He'd go on the show and put his legs on the table like he didn't care. He's loving life, innit? Because back then his podcast was getting hundreds of thousands of views. He was selling out everywhere. And now he's in a place where, he's still doing well comedy-wise. He's still selling out in places, but he's not where he once was. He's not back in Hollywood. And he has to rely on Brendan for a fucking salary. Like, that's gotta hurt. You know what I mean? That's gotta fucking hurt. Because he thinks he's a redact.
Revive it.
What's it called?
Zach Baggins.
SCHAUB then claims he was the number 2 pick after Ludacris for the 2017 reboot of Fear Factor, with many uncertain to the validity of this.
This might be my favorite lie. This might be my favorite lie of Brendan. This might be up there with the Blue Moon Comedy Festival thing lie that he said. When the flyer came out, had his name in bold, and he knew he wasn't a headliner, but he lied and said he was. And then when it got revealed that he wasn't a headliner, instead of just owning the mistake, right? He didn't own the mistake. He pretended like he still was, didn't address it. And then I guess because he didn't sell enough tickets, he then just cancelled last minute. That might be one of my favorite lies, the Moon Tower Comedy Festival one. But this one is right up there. This one is right up there.
This claim.
I'll never forget Fear Factor.
Oh, love it. They tried redoing it. I actually auditioned for the host for it. It's down to me and Ludacris.
Dude, you would have got so much hate for that. Really?
Oh,
dude?
I pulled myself out. I was like, oh, no. I didn't think I'd get it. And when they asked me, it was like, it's down to you. I'm like, told my agent, I'm like, this is a bad look, man.
Yeah,
I'm already close with Joe. Now I'm the host of.
Bro, they would have fucking. They would have been like, oh, really, Brandon?
Oh,
yeah, big up chocolate chat drop. I appreciate you.
About the bandwagons, anything and everything. That's what I find most annoying. If he just stood for what believes in, controversy will naturally follow.
Exactly, chocolate drop. And this is the whole point with Brendan. If he just stood on what he believes in, it'll be okay. Like, for instance, like his story about his, athletic career. Look at his face there. I need that.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me go back again. I need that.
Bro, they would have fucking. They would have been like, oh, really, Brandon?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need that. Sorry, 1 second. I need this as a fucking screen grab. This is fucking good. I need this shit. Anyway, it's like the example of his athletic career. In my opinion, personally speaking, again, I don't know nothing about football, NFL and stuff. I'm not really that familiar with how it works, but I had been told on stream that to be a walk-on or whatever, or to like try out for a team isn't that big of an achievement because anyone could do it. You have to actually get picked and signed, whatever it may be. Cool, whatever. Let's just say that's true. Even if that's true, I still think it's impressive to go from trying to become a football player, that not working out, then transitioning into the UFC, that not working out, and then transitioning into comedy and podcasting. That for me is still a pretty sick, like, origin story. Like, that's still a decent hero's journey, in my opinion, because it shows that every time you get knocked down or you're facing adversity, you dust yourself off and you get back up again. That's what it clearly shows to me. So you've clearly got perseverance, you clearly got sort of drive, you're hardworking. It's a good thing. But for some reason, he lies and sprinkles the lies in there and says he always wanted to be a comic. He never wanted to be a football player. He was on the practice squad for this one. He nearly got signed by the Miami Dolphins. What do you call it? The UFC thing. I was top 15, whatever thing when he wasn't. All this sort of nonsense. Like, why lie? Why add the lies when the actual story is pretty decent? That's the thing that really is odd. And I think that's why I'm starting to believe now what people say, that he's just a pathological liar. Like, he's to a point now where I think he even believes his own lies. He's a pathological liar to the T. You know what I mean? With a capital P.
Yeah.
Fucking.
No, trust me. I saw that hate wave coming. I'm like, I'm out. Give it to Ludacris.
SCHAUB's co-host and surrogate father BRYAN CALLEN, who's had his own essay allegations, was selected by a Netflix editor as one of the voices defending Johnny Depp in a trailer for a documentary about his trial. Ah, the irony.
You're the real Johnny Depp.
That's really true.
Depp was the one who wanted the cameras in the courtroom. She didn't.
Almost 40 empty seats.
He didn't speak about that, did he? BRYAN didn't speak about that. That was actually a pretty good look for BRYAN, and probably the only time he's ever going to appear on Netflix, unfortunately for him. But he never actually mentioned it, which is smart, because you don't want to bring more eyes to that case, which then might bring more eyes to your alleged, stuff that you may have done.
Seats in the 135-seat legendary room at the Ice House in his own city on the day of the show, plus a downward trajectory in views. The real question is, can Brendan SCHAUB turn it all around?
On Friday at the Ice House, it's almost sold out. If you got molested, come, I guess. But either way, 40 tickets left. Ice House, Pasadena, SCHAUB and friends.
It's gotta be kind of nice, though.
Like, whenever I had like beef with anyone like that, and like I'll be in my head about, God, I bet everyone's thinking this. I get home, my son's like, what?
Anyway, will he turn it around? No, never turning it around. Again, me being a chaos guy and shit, I've also got another weird stance when it comes to people turning it around. I believe there's a cap in terms of, no, there's like a window of you turning it around. And I feel like sometimes if you're a guy in your mid 40s or early 40s like Brendan is, and you're married with kids, you've got one on the way, you've got a career going, you've done pretty well for yourself, being a douchebag, being a redact, you have no reason to change. So it's very unlikely, almost impossible that he's going to turn it around, because he doesn't think he does anything bad. Like, he clearly thinks he's a beast at everything. Like, you already saw it with the whole Kalila thing. When he sat down with Bobby Lee and Kalila, he didn't get it. You know what I mean? He didn't get it. And he came across really bad, and he thought it went really well. So clearly the guy is a little bit lost. So he's not turning it around, which is good for me, because, you know, I can keep doing these streams, and it's good if you enjoy watching locals, because you're going to have non-stop entertainment forever and ever and ever. But he's never turning it around. It's too late now. It's done. The same way how he's never going to be funny, because he started stand-up too late in your mid-30s, he's also never going to turn it around. Just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. It's never happening. He's going to be that way forever and ever. What are you guys saying in the chat here? He thinks everyone in the world knows Joe Rogan. Exactly. You're right on the lies being unnecessary, but playing D1 Big 12 football is pretty impressive. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, John. Playing D1, I think, in my opinion, I think playing college football and getting to D1, D2 level is still pretty decent. And then transitioning that into a okay UFC career, and then transitioning that into stand-up, where you get to kind of, you know, have your own schedule, get to perform in front of your fans, travel the world, travel the country. It's pretty decent. But again, with the lies, Comedy Central wanted to buy his Gringo Pappy thing. He was talking to Netflix. He sold out this show, this show, lying about the fucking cancellation for the European thing. Like, it's just the unnecessary lies, which is the real weird thing, again, which is why I believe the guy is just a pathological liar. Anyway, moving on, let's talk about Crowder. There's some fucking crazy Crowder allegations out there. Again, as someone said in the Fighting Kids subreddit, Bryan definitely knows how to pick them. And it's funny, isn't it? It's like, what's that thing called? Birds of a feather flock together, right? This is basically what is happening here. Bryan, you know, decides to do a bit of a pivot in his career, which I thought was a smart decision. I thought Bryan deciding to link up with Steven Crowder was actually a smart move, considering that, you know, he's in his mid-50s. His comedy is fucking garbage, in my opinion. But, you know, some people like it, but it's a bit stale, that shtick of being like the man alpha thing. And, you know, it's just odd coming from a dude like him over time. His Hollywood career is obviously on ice now since the allegations of rape and shit. So that's completely over. So the pivot into being like, you know, a right-wing grifter is actually a good idea, especially considering how old he's getting. But unfortunately for him, the timing is awful. Just after he announced he was going to link up with Crowder, the video comes out of him abusing his now ex-wife, which is heavily pregnant and shit, and being just a dickhead on camera and talking to her like she's a piece of shit, and basically, which obviously didn't paint him out in a good light. Then everyone coming out saying the bad things about him, Candace Owens being one of them. And now we've got this article courtesy of Mediate that says this. Look at this headline. 4 Steven Crowder staffers exit after interrogations and insane NDAs. So Steven Crowder is a menace behind the scenes, which makes sense though. I think a lot of people have been saying this from a while. I've never really paid attention to his content that much. I'd watched the odd video of him, that whole debate me thing, where you go to college campuses and have some interesting debates. I kind of enjoyed them, I'm not gonna lie, because there'd be some times where some college kids would be a really good match for him debate wise. But people that were paying attention were calling him out from a while back. People that were really clocking his content were saying this guy is fucking unhinged. Even before Dave Landau came out and said his shit. Is that his name? That Landau guy? People were calling him out for a while. So it's interesting to see it's all being proven somewhat correct that, you know, he's a menace. So, media article says, Steven Crowder sent draconian non-disclosure agreements to his staff with $100,000 breach contract penalty after Mediate reported on allegations of workplace misconduct at the right-wing commentator's Rumble show. So recently, he did this. So I guess everyone else got about him before, and then he responded and said, nah, no more. Last month, Mediate reported on allegations of bullying, inappropriate drug use. What? See? You guys keep accusing me of muting my mic and fucking blowing my nose of doing drugs, but louder with Crowder. Steven Crowder is being accused of actually doing some drugs while he's on air, which makes sense why he's fucking always so, you know, jittery and shit, and, you know, can't stop fucking ranting and talking. He's actually out there doing drugs. So you guys should stop abusing me and, you know, direct your attention somewhere else. Anyway, lewd sexual workplace misconduct with Lauda Ricardo, the popular online show that recently joined Rumble, a YouTube alternative. 2 hours after Mediate published a follow-up report detailing an internal staff meeting at Lauda Ricardo held in response to the internal story, in which the CEO, Gerald Morgan, told staffers they could no longer communicate with former employees, NDAs were sent out. Wow. The agreements, which were reviewed by Mediate, were emailed to current Lauda Ricardo employees on July 26 and read in part. Employee maintains his promises and covenants not to disclose confidential information as defined in the amendment. Company will provide employee with confidential information during a period in which employee is employed by the company. Fucking hell. Big words there. The agreement added that if a breach of contract should occur, the employee would be liable to the company for liquidated damages in the amount of $100,000. So if you spoke about anything that happened behind the scenes, if you spoke about seeing fucking allegedly Lauda Ricardo maybe walking into a fucking toilet with another male, you would get in a big trouble, which is horrible to see, really, to be honest. Silencing their employees. I thought these guys believed in free speech. Huh? I thought they believed in free speech. Interesting. It's almost as if they're all full of shit. Anyway, it continues. I hereby acknowledge that the said damages are reasonable, do not constitute a penalty, and I further agree that I will not contest the reasonableness of said liquidated damages in any such action commenced by either party with respect to the amendment, the agreement stated. The staffers were told that they had to sign the NDA by Friday. On July 27th, Crowder held a meeting in which he warned staff against speaking out. I quote, Stephen was livid, as source close to Rumble said. Imagine, he said don't speak and then they immediately spoke. Quote, he and Gerald Morgan said that they knew someone was talking to you, the author of this piece, based on the article you wrote. They said whoever text messaged former employees about us not being able to hang out with them would be given amnesty if he confessed by 2 p.m. Never believe that sort of shit. If you ever work somewhere and they tell you, hey, just tell me the truth and you'll be fine, never believe them. Shut your fucking mouth and keep working. I've made that mistake in myself in the workplace. Never believe HR. HR's not there to help you. They're there to protect the company. I think when you work for a company, you have this weird, naive idea that HR are actually there to safeguard the employees. No, they're there to safeguard the employer. So keep your mouth shut. Keep working. If you don't like your conditions, find another job. But don't believe them when they say, hey, just tell me the truth and we'll work something out. That's a ruse. That's a fucking scam. They're trying to get you to fucking confess and then they're going to fuck you over. Never do that. It continues. If no one confessed, that they would see it as a malice. No one confessed, so they started interrogating a few people. Lols. It continues. During the meeting, Crowder downplayed his sexual misconduct allegations and said another source close to the soon-be divorced father of two. What's the theory on people in the chat? Do you guys agree? Do you guys think that he's actually undercover? He's maybe down low, Crowder, and this is why he's acting out? Because I've heard that theory floated. The theory is that he's frustrated that he can't come out or whatever it may be, or because he doesn't want to or doesn't want to accept who he is, and that's why he acts like a dickhead. What do you guys think? I don't think so. I just think he's a dickhead personally. I don't think the not wanting to come out or accepting his sexuality is a point. I just think fundamentally he's a bit of a dickhead because he comes across like a bit of an insufferable, obnoxious guy personally. What do you guys think? That's a weird theory people put out there because that's, you know, it's a weird theory. Yes, you can tell that the way he talked to his wife, he resents women, yeah? Lols. He walks boys to their trugs. Stingagoo. That's an awful line. Stingagoo saying he's gay as fuck. He wants dick, bruv. I met him in person. He's homeschool weird. Yeah, good. Fucking Coiler, brilliant description. I would describe him like that. Yeah, he's more homeschool weird, or like, you know, I've met kids who went to boarding school, who went to international school, like, you know, out of the country and shit. They're a bit, you know, they're not all there, or like child actors and shit, like people that, you know, theater kids when they grow up, they're a bit weird as well, you know, some of them. So maybe that's what he's got. He's got more of that energy. Yeah, I see that. I see more of that homeschool thing. Hectic First Channel saying it's because he's supposedly religious. Yeah, for sure. The religious thing plays into it. But I still just think he's a cunt. You know, you're allowed to be a cunt, but I just think he's a cunt. Z asks a very important question. Why pull out your privates at work around other guys if you're hetero? Very good question, Z. We don't know. Maybe he wanted to show them a cool piercing he had. Maybe he wanted some advice. Or maybe he wanted to double check if like everybody's dick was that big, you know? Hey guys, like have you all got a big schlong like I have? Just double check. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to paint with it. I don't know. John Doe says, is auto protected advertising dollars. Suck, snort, shoot. Whenever you wanna as an adult, just don't go public with it, or his middle-aged disgruntled fans will jump ship. Okay, that's fair. Let's continue here. Let's say it says the NDA was insane, said the source to Crowder. The quote, most employees were scared because of it. Some talked to lawyers about it because they were afraid. But Stephen's increasing justifications of his workplace sexual behavior between men makes a lot of male employees uncomfortable. Hold on, what? Excuse me? Stephen's increasing justification. How's he justifying it? If you guys know the chat, how's he justifying it? Is he saying it's just like boys' humor? It's just locker room talk? Like, how's he justifying? Yo, this is so strange. Anyway, he always says it's joke. Okay, here we go. He says in the line. My bad. I should have read on. The quote. He always says it's joking, but it doesn't seem like a joke to anyone anymore. Fucking hell. I've said this before. Like, I think you can tell. Like the Lizzo thing is a good example. You can tell the people who are defending Lizzo, you can tell they've never had a regular job. Because if you know, working in a regular job, there's loads of like, what do you call it? There's loads of like, how do you say it? There's loads of like soft abuse that happens in regular jobs. Loads of like soft bullying, soft intimidation. And sometimes you feel like you get coerced into things because you want to, you know, be in the good graces of your managers and shit. And one of the things that always kind of happens in workplaces, especially depending on where you are, I've been in a few places like that, especially one of the places I was at called Pollen that went down and went bankrupt because the guys were fucking spending all the company money on cocaine and going to Ibiza and shit. Some workplaces have a very toxic like going out culture where sometimes, you know, you're not part of the in crowd at your workplace because you don't go for drinks on a Friday. So imagine that being the case. You're already working in an environment that's toxic, where you kind of feel like you have to go to bars, you have to go out with them after work, you have to go to lunches together in order to feel like you're part of the, you know, you're part of the team. Then imagine on top of that, if you've got a crowd that does stuff like, you know, handsy shit, like being abusive, invading your space, touching you inappropriately. It's really difficult to kind of, you know, try and stand up for yourself because you want to keep your job, especially in this economy, right? The economy's fucked up. It's hard to get employment these days. Employment rates are through the roof, you know, whatever, right? Like groceries are way more expensive than what they were. Like your money doesn't go as far as it probably did. But Jesus, man, like I can't imagine being in that kind of environment where you're made to sign NDAs, you're already being abused and fucking bullied and harassed at work and shit. And, you know, and then people tell you, oh, it's okay, it's just part of the fun. No. Fuck all that shit. We chat on the chat. Wifey duties. That line. A former Lather Academy employee said the NDA and bullying tactics are a clear sign that the toxic workplace culture will not be cleaned up anytime soon. The real problems, the quote says here, the real problems never get fixed because the real studio problems revolve around Crowder's refusal to take responsibility, the quote says. The quote, he's never ever to blame. Gerald and Stephen intimidate and bully the staff. They try to divide and conquer. They treat former employees like people who've left their cult and can no longer be trusted. And current employees are commanded not to associate with those former employees. That's strange. I know there's some workplace I've been at where, you know, you're not allowed to like invite your former mates to come and meet you at work and shit. You have to kind of meet them at the bar and stuff. It's a bit weird. But it's never like, you're not, you know, they don't ever refuse you to speak to them. You know what I mean? That's not how far it goes. It continues here. They compared Louder with Crowder to how, quote unquote, how Scientologists are allowed to associate with people who haven't left the church, who aren't allowed. How corrupt or clueless do you have to be to respond to reports of employee abuse by turning around and threatening employees with a 100K fine? That's why him and Callen are friends, right? Because you remember I said this before in the pod. I reminded you guys of that story where Callen tried to sue the husband of his rape accuser, the one that went to the Los Angeles Times and detailed that alleged occurrence where Callen allegedly raped her. I guess when that story came out, Callen was not getting booked in certain places. And then I guess the husband of the wife of that woman who accused him of fucking, the rape, he was obviously trying to defend his woman, and he was calling up the clubs and trying to get him cancelled, trying to get him not get bookings and shit. And Callen thought the best way to defend himself was to sue the guy for defamation or whatever it may be. And obviously that didn't land too well on the internet. People were abusing him even more. So it looks like Callen and Crowder have the same approach to silencing people when they're in the wrong, Like, it's fucking crazy, man. The NDA kerfuffle has caused further turmoil among Crowder staff, and a new hiring announcement the same week added more fuel to the internal issues. Michael Spadon, is her name? Spadon? Michael Spadon, a former field director at Project Veritas, who was accused of kissing and groping a former colleague in a since-settled lawsuit, has been brought on to Louder and Crowder team. Of course they hired somebody with those allegations. They love allegations, people. Sources close to Crowder saw it as a questionable hiring decision due to the recent claims against Spadon. Quote, the whole situation is obviously extremely concerning for the women who work in the studio. There's women who work there. Okay, I thought it was all dudes. My bad. My favorite guy from there who's left now is Quarter Black Jay? Was it Gerard? I forgot his name. He's on he's on that channel I sometimes watch. Where they review movies and games and shit. Nerdrotic, I think, right? I think Friday Night Tights. He does that sometimes with those guys, so he's quite cool. I like him. Stephen's sexual habits and behaviors at work are troublesome enough, but to find out a man alleged of sexual assault has been hired by Stephen the same week you handed a fresh NDA for 100,000 penalty would leave anyone scared, said an ex-staffer. Crowder did not respond for request for comment. Bit crazy, man. It seems a bit weird, doesn't it? Seems a bit weird, seems a bit wild. But again, Brian sure knows how to pick them. Now his new boss has crazy allegations against him, and Brian's just going to stick his head in the sand and collect a check because, I don't blame him also because the guy's got $20,000 per month in alimony to pay. So I don't blame him for just kind of looking the other way and just collecting the money. I don't blame him because, look, he's got money to pay, mate. You know what I mean? Like, it's real. Anyway, what are you guys saying in the chat? John Doe, we're taking on globalist elites, preserving conservative values. Anyway, pop those pants off so I can nip a line. John Doe's a legend. We're gonna fight like hell. But first off, what that mouth do? Oh, fucking hell. It's like I found out today, I wonder if Mug Club in its entirety is like a code word, right? I wonder if that's the case even. Maybe Mug Club is a code word for something else, because I just found out today actually, perusing the techno subreddits, because I go to techno clubs and stuff. I didn't know. Sometimes when you go to techno clubs, you'll see gay guys and the harnesses and the chokers and shit. But sometimes they'll wear these wristbands that have these rings on them, right? I guess you can click them with a chain. I wasn't aware that the wristbands are a signal to other gay dudes. So basically, I think they say if you wear the wristband on your right hand, your bottom. If you wear it on your left, your top and shit. It's little codes. So I wonder if Mug Club is actually like a code word, Mug Club, if you know, I wonder if there's guys out there slipping their little wee wee into the into the mugs, taking pictures of them and uploading them somewhere. I don't know. Maybe that exists. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe that does exist somewhere. There's some deep some forum somewhere where guys just they measure the size of their wee wee based on how deep or how much space is left or whatever. In the mug. Or they hold it up against it and compare the size. I'm two mugs big. I'm 3 mugs big. 7:30 TMI. Pause. Oh, I can't do this anymore. Too many dicks in my brain. Anyway, let's continue. So, for some reason, again, most of you guys would know more in the chat than me. Crowder is relaunching Louder with Crowder again. So they did that whole big launch before with all them wearing fucking blazers, walking down the street, acting as if they're in fucking Reservoir Dogs or something. And now they're doing it again. I don't know why they keep relaunching the thing. I know somebody mentioned before that he does take breaks, I think in like July or September, to kind of, you know, think about the content and kind of come back refreshed and shit. But there always seems to be some sort of big announcement, some big thing they're meant to do, and it just turns up to be the same thing they always do on live stream, like I am, talking about news stuff, cultural war stuff. It doesn't really change. But anyway, Crowder went to make a big announcement, and he also went to thank some people that have helped to kind of relaunch Louder with Crowder, and he thanked a very familiar face you'll see very, very soon. Let's play the clip.
Back. So before we get to some of the new announcements, new shows, new divisions that we're creating here, and again, you can go to louderwithcrowder.com/modclub, enter in the promo code replatforming, you get a Fight Like Hell shirt. I want to give the microphone over to some people who've played a role here at Mud Club and growing this place. And
niggas got a pulpit like he's the fucking president or like he's some fucking Baptist preacher. Like, this is fucking bizarre in the highest level of bizarre.
Are now going to be playing a bigger role. So first, this is a man right here with a resume that you rarely find in the, I mean, quote unquote conservative movement. So through the last decades, he's had roles in film, television, he's hosted shows, he's sold out theaters. But with Bryan Callen, let me tell you a little bit about what he lost, because that's what replatforming is about. In the era of the Me Too witch hunt, when people were being falsely accused left and right, he not only had a top 10 podcast in the sports world, he not only was a central character on one of ABC's Hallmark shows, his role was so popular, he was given his own spin-off.
That got cancelled.
On ABC, in primetime.
The funny thing about the accusations, again, maybe Callen didn't do it, right? Maybe he didn't do it. Unfortunately for Callen, there's so much content out there of him talking about, with some level of enthusiasm, about how women enjoy being raped and all this sort of fucking nonsense. Right, all these kind of creepy stories directly coming from other women's mouths, like Whitney Cummings, when she shared that story about how Bryan tried to put the moves on her one day when he picked her up to take her somewhere in his car. She got into the car, and then when she turned around to put on her seatbelt and look at him, he had his dick out, right? And it was a funny story that they shared, but that's something that he did to somebody he didn't really know that well, and he went to obviously make a move. So imagine if a guy is talking enthusiastically about women liking being raped or rape play in the bedroom, and then he's also the dude that just pulls out his wee-wee, you know, unprompted, unprovoked, then I'm sorry if some people might believe the accounts of some women that have been corroborated by other people. Like, it's a, you know, it's a piece that was written in the Los Angeles Times. The journalists have to corroborate some of the storylines and go back to people and say, hey, did this person tell you this thing back in whenever it happened? Cool. So those women had all their accounts, you know, they had their account, their version of the events. My main issue with Bryan Callen is that he never offered an alternative explanation for what happened. He never once said it. He just said, I didn't do it. What they say about me didn't happen, whatever. He didn't explain anything. So it's hard to believe somebody and think it's a lie when they're not trying to explain or fight back against the allegations. They're just essentially saying, I didn't do it. Trust me, bro. I'm sorry. We can't trust anybody. If that, again, I said, if that was me, and I didn't do it, like Steven Crowder's shirt says, I'm going to fight like hell. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to let it be known that I didn't do it. I'm not going to just like accept it, go on a break, whatever it may be, try and, you know, resurrect myself as some sort of right-wing liberal grifter and shit. I wouldn't do that. I'm going to fight it like hell. So the fact that he didn't fight makes me believe most likely it was true. That's just my opinion. So that's why he got cancelled. Not because he was saying anything controversial or he had some crazy ideas about how the world should be structured and shit. No, because he may have raped somebody back in the day. So platforming a rapist is like, alleged rapist is it's a bit crazy.
Smear campaign later, he lost all of it. The term canceled doesn't even cover it. But now he's ready to let his freak flag fly. And beyond being in third chair and appearing in sketches, which he's done, he will be launching his weekly show on September 1st, The Bryan Callen Show. But Mug Club will also be producing Bryan Callen's next stand-up comedy special. More on that.
How long is that Bryan Callen show going to last, by the way? One thing that you cannot, again, I'm somebody that's always going to be fair. I'm not going to get on here and just rag for the sake of ragging. Let's be honest. Bryan Callen needs Brendan. Without Brendan Shaw, Bryan Callen doesn't have a podcasting career. Because I've been a fan of the Friday Kid from the beginning. And I know that Bryan had like mixed mental arts, the Bryan Callen show, and he never followed through. He did like 10 episodes, 20 episodes, and then kind of fall off. Even the early Friday Kid episodes, if you guys remember watching those episodes when they used to be on Fox and shit, Callen would come late. He'd come late to episodes. He knows when they record. It's the same time all the time. He'd be saying it was, and then Brendan would get pissed off. He would say it was traffic. He would say it was an audition. He would come late to his own podcast. He didn't take it seriously for a while, Bryan Callen. He thought the podcast was a waste of time. And then when he started to make money, and it was actually making him more money than his actual acting, that's when he started to take it a bit more seriously. But he's never been a serious dude. Even though he was around early, he should really have a podcast, his own, not to the level of Rogan, but he should be there where he should be able to get on front of a microphone, talk for an hour and make bank, because he's been around early enough. He's in the early episodes of Rogan when he was doing it in his house and shit. He's been Rogan's friend for like, you know, more than 3 decades and stuff, but he just doesn't have the work ethic, as fucking Brendan Shaw would say. So I'm curious to see how long this fucking Callen show lasts. Because already when he appeared on Crowder, he didn't do research. Crowder would get annoyed and roll his eyes. You know, like, I don't think this is going to last long. Like, he doesn't have a good track record of... But then again, I take it back. If they provide him with everything and he just has to turn up, he's fine. If he has to do it on his own, he's fucked up. Like, if he just has to come out into the studio, sit down and talk for an hour, he'll probably do that because he does it already with a Fighting a Kid. But if he has to rely on himself to make the content, put it out, promote it, it's not going to happen. It isn't. But I'm curious to see it. And also the stand-up special too. Let's see what that is going to be like.
That in a minute. One where he can finally pull no punches, show the world everything that he truly is, again, because of Mug Club. So please, welcome to the team, part-timer to full-timer, Mr. Bryan Callen.
Part-time to full-time? What does that mean? Does that mean he has to move to Texas then? Isn't Crowder in Texas? Or am I mistaken? Isn't he in... I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's in Austin or Dallas. But I swear he's in Texas. If he is, does that mean Callen's going to move there? Or is he going to try and commute back and forth? Because that would then put into question whether or not Fighting the Kid's still going to continue. No? If you're working there full-time.
There you go. Oh, thanks, buddy. Thank you. Thank you, my fellow Americans.
This looks like one of those, you guys haven't fucking been in, you guys are, probably there's not a lot of Christians in my chat, but I grew up in a Christian family, and sometimes you'd go to a house and they'd be like starting a small church and it'd be in someone's house and shit. That's what it kind of feels like. It'd be like someone's living room and they'll be like, you know, reading the Bible at the front of the room and shit, and everyone will be clapping, and it kind of feels like a weird church. What the fuck, man? All these like middle-aged white people sit in this room thinking they're part of a revolution with these fucking shitty banners behind them, you know, talking about fucking, I don't know, drag queens in fucking libraries, ranting against fucking Bud Light. They think they're freedom fighters.
Thank you, Stephen. Listen, let's get serious. There are a lot of bad ideas out there that have very real consequences for our democracy.
I'm not gonna lie. I fucking hate when Bryan does that over-enunciating thing to try and sound like he's choosing his words carefully and considering everything that comes out of his mouth in order to express what he actually means and means what he actually says in some sort of weird pseudo-intellectual way. I fucking hate it. It kind of, again, no offense, it kind of looks like he's deaf. You know when deaf people try and like speak and they have to kind of like, you know, like sound every word out? That's what he kind of looks like when he's talking. Why does he do that for? It's so annoying. It's a tiny thing, but it fucking pisses me off. Look at his mouth. Look how much it moves. Watch.
Americans, thank you, Stephen. Listen, let's get serious. There are a lot of bad ideas out there that have very real consequences.
I did not rape that woman. You know, like, what the fuck is this?
For our democracy. It is no longer safe to speak the truth. It is no longer safe to even question.
It's no longer safe to rape. That's what he wants to really say. It's no longer safe to rape in peace. Women have a predisposition to rape. It's in our DNA. I read this book by Sebastian Junger, a sociologist. He's gonna start doing all those fucking stupid stuff, like just rabbiting shit that he heard from fucking Jordan Peterson. Oh yeah. He kind of reminds me of, like, again, like he's kind of the personification of that meme of LeBron James, where he doesn't read a full book, he just reads the first 3 pages, but then holds it to look like he's an intellectual person. He kind of reminds me of that kind of thing, you know, without doing the actual work, without doing the actual necessary reading or studying. He doesn't actually read the books. Actually, what happened to the Bookless Book Club, by the way?
The edicts handed down from the establishment kings, the gatekeepers, today will crush you financially. They will censor you. They will deplatform you. They will label you.
It's funny he says crush financially. Sorry to keep pausing it, because one of the reasons why I think this is an interesting experiment, or interesting to analyze him and Chris D'Elia, I think him and Chris got away with it, but in a good way, because they have money, right? Like, Bryan comes from money. His dad's incredibly successful, was one of the main people. I think it was like Citibank, was one of the main people behind setting up Citibank in the Middle East, did loads of work, allegedly maybe for the CIA, you know, in being the middleman between the States and countries within the Middle East, like Afghanistan and all that shit, right? So he comes from money, like he's got money. And I'm pretty sure, my theory again, one of my theories I said out there, that I think Brendan might have named one of his kids Boston after fucking Rogan, because Rogan's from fucking Boston, or he's known to be from there. My other theory is that I think Bryan, weird to say this, right? I think Bryan gets a fucking, what's that thing called? He gets an allowance or has a trust fund. I think now, even now in his mid-50s, I think his parents give him money, because there's no other reason why somebody who has to pay $20,000 in alimony is able to afford his life just by podcasting on a Fire and a Kid, which is kind of failing, and having a, you know, an okay stand-up career where he's not doing theaters and stuff, he's just playing at clubs. Any other person that does that would have to kind of sell a house, sell a car, you know, maybe get a part-time job. The fact that he can still look after his other family, where he divorced his wife and paid $20,000 in fucking alimony per month, and look after this new family with his wife and this new baby, all from podcasting. I have a feeling the difference is made up by daddy. Daddy gives him a little bit of money at the end of the month. So that's probably why he's able to survive that kind of level of cancellation. I don't think any other regular person could survive it. Same with Chris D'Elia. You know, if you don't come from money, you can't survive those type of cancellations. So it's funny that he will say about financial, because it's like, dude, you're only still here because your dad worked incredibly hard at his job and smashed it and killed it, so that you could be afforded an opportunity to fuck up and bounce back. Because someone that looks like me, if I get accused of the R word, it's finished. It's over. No, I mean, it's over. I have to be on I have to go to Rumble. If I get accused of the R word, I would have to go to Rumble and start talking about fucking, you know, Egyptians and aliens, and we were kings and shit. I'd have to do all that sort of stuff to get back up on flag. You know what I mean?
They will vilify you. The rules grow more specific, weirder, and more plentiful by the day. And as I speak, you'll even be punished if you stand with traditional beliefs and values. Well, welcome to the pushback.
I like your look over here.
See that? See that? A lot of people over here. You can't see them.
Oh, he's reading from a teleprompter, isn't it, right? He's reading from, and he's meant to be a professional stand-up comedian. What is he reading from a teleprompter for? These niggas think they're on fucking HBO. They think they're on fucking, I don't know, CNBC or something, right? CNBC or whatever that thing is. Shit.
Should see that. How you guys doing in the nosebleeds? They can't hear me. All right. Stephen and the Louder with Crowder family.
That nosebleed joke is like fucking Brendan's 8 inches thing, isn't it? So, all right, mate. Fuck. How many times do you think Bryan Callen said that line? How you guys doing in the nosebleeds? There's no one here. Oh, come on, bro.
We have been battling it out on their own for a long time now. Well, I am excited to be part of an ever-expanding group of misfits and comics that have had enough and want to join the fight. The pushback isn't just about fighting bad ideas with better ideas. It's not just about shouting into a microphone. We're here to change hearts and minds, and we are going to do it the way Stephen has always done it, with humor, satire, wit, and maybe a little screaming into the microphone. You know what I'm saying? A little screaming, a little bit, yeah. A little anger once in a while goes a long way. We are going to entertain you so hard and so often that you can't help but hear and see the truth. You can't help it. There is no one in the conservative space pushing back on the left's terrible ideas with Stephen's level of funny. No one is even in the same area code. So when Stephen asked me to join the family, I was like, where do I sign up? This is must-see pushback. We are an army of funny people with a point of view, funny with a philosophy. We are not your grandpa's conservative show. We ain't the strict chaperones standing in the corner telling everyone not to dance. The party is here. This is where you get to laugh, learn, and be heard, and I am excited to be part of it all.
Yeah, exactly. Marty Moose. Callen was 100% liberal before he got cancelled. What? I don't. It's like a standard path they all go down. You get cancelled, all of a sudden you start leaning into the right wing grift because they're the only ones that will have you. They're the only ones that would quote unquote platform you. When really you should just be fighting for your own platform to be. You know, why don't you just kind of double down on your actual beliefs and kind of use maybe your political leanings as a platform to maybe explain, you know, your situation and to maybe fight back. Why do you have to immediately put that to one side and say, no, I'll pick up this new flag now. I'm going to wave this red flag around. It's fucking cringe, man. It's really, really odd. But hey, he's going to try. He's going to try and do a thing. Like I said before, he's, you know, mid-50s guy, approaching his 60s. He's got 2 families to look after. Bills need to be paid. It is what it is, I guess, isn't it? And one thing about Hollywood people, actors and stuff, they just go on to the next gig. They are fucking chameleons. They have no real principles, no real morals, no real backbone. Wherever the money is, wherever the check is, they'll go. Wherever the cameras are on, they'll go. If there's a microphone there, they'll speak. They'll pontificate. They'll fucking share their opinion. They don't know what they're talking about. They'll try and sound like they do. So, you know, he has to do what he has to do to keep his lights on and to kind of keep the family going. So I guess that's what he's going to do. But for me, cringe in the infinite. Cringe in the infinite. What are you guys saying in the chat? John Doe saying to push back into whatever he's got, whatever guy he's lets bend him over in the hopes he can hang around and get him another. Exactly. Pushback. Yeah, pushback is kind of gross, isn't it? Because if you think about it in a non-hetero way, a pushback is like, you know, you kind of arching the back and pushing the thing back, you know? I know I'm doing a motion and people are going to be pausing, but a pushback is kind of that, isn't it? That's the pushback. That's that's the pushback. Wine girl, wine like a gypsy. Wine girl. Imagine that's what they'd be doing, daggering each other in a fucking crowd, ladder kind of offices. Batman pull up, Batman pull up. It's like, oh my. Ride like a bicycle. Sorry, I've got carnival in my mind. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Let's move on from that one before I make myself vomit. Let's continue. What are you guys saying here? Grifting right wing is all that's left. Exactly, Marty Moose. Yeah, is that what? Is that true, Marty Moose? Crowder fired Jim Brewer. Oh my god, and Jim Brewer's pretty extreme. So if Crowder fired him, imagine what he gets up to. But Jim Brewer also is like, he shouldn't be working for a Crowder. He should be doing his own thing. He's sort of like he should be untethered. I mean, he shouldn't be held down by those type of platforms. He's fucking wild. Railing like Mussolini from the balcony. Oh, I love it. But yeah, I bet his form is good and everything. Exactly, Uche. Uche knows about that form. Fucking hell, mate. Jesus Christ. Imagine the shit that must go on at a louder crowded staff party. They must get loose. I want to know what drugs they're talking about, though. I really want to know. Maybe I have to read the other article. Maybe I'll do it next stream. I want to know what drugs they're doing. Well, what do you think drugs are doing in the louder crowded offices? Do you think it's MDMA? Do you think it's cat? Is it coke? Is it pills? It's not weed. What do you reckon it was? Probably speed, right? But probably poppers. Poppers for sure. I want to know what drugs they're doing in the fucking ladder crowd staff room. Like, what they're getting up to. I can imagine fucking Crowder being the worst type of person to get high with. Super controlling, wanting to measure everything out. You know what I mean? Wanting to talk your fucking ear off. What you guys say? Poppers for sure. Probably whatever the wives are on, stealing their prescription. Oh yeah, true. I keep forgetting. You guys in America, you guys got good prescription drugs. So it could be Percocets, it could be Xanax. Yeah, true. It could be codeine, right? All those things. What's the other thing what's the thing that Bert likes to take? Is it Valium? What's the thing that Bert likes? It's not Xanax, something else. Bert likes a pill. It's not Xanax, it's something else. Diazepam is Xanax, isn't it? Just another name for it, right? If you guys know in the chat. Diazepam is just Xanax, I'm pretty sure. But I forgot, there's some other pill that Bert always talks about. I forgot the name of it. Maybe it's Valium, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is Valium. Maybe it's Valium. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's Valium. Yeah, I think it's Valium. I wonder if they start. Maybe they do Valium also. I could see that. Because you guys have good pills. We don't. Yeah, that's it. Vicodin. Yeah, maybe it's Vicodin also. One of them. One of the V's. One of the V's. Anyway, let's move on. Look at all you guys in the chat with your drug talk. See? I knew it was projection. You guys are always projecting onto me like I'm doing all the fucking drugs, like I'm fucking Pablo Escobar out here, right? Like I'm fucking El Chapo. When really all of you guys know all the fucking names. Look at all the names here. Xanax, Valium, Vicodin, Xanax, benzodiazepines, whatever that one is, chloroquine. All of you guys know all the names. Ozempic. Yeah, exactly, not Ozempic. Look at you guys projecting onto me. I know you. I see you guys. I see you guys. I see you motherfuckers. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about this. Coil, I take it for my hay fever. You guys are pieces of shit. I take it for my hay fever. Whatever, man. Whatever. I'll let you guys run with your narrative, man. I have nothing to fucking defend myself over. Do you know what I mean? I'm an honest Christian man. Anyway, moving on. So this is fucking incredible. This might be one of the best unhinged Crystalia rants I've seen in a while. And he has these quite often now in his pod. And I feel like they are I feel like it's like a representation of his consciousness kind of like rising up to the forefront, because he probably in his daily life tries to act like everything's okay. He tries to probably pretend like it's all good, it's all fine. But in actuality, he's living in an internal hell, right? And I think for a victim out there, alleged victim, if the stories are true, the allegations that are out there about him, I think that should bring you some comfort. I know he's not in prison. I know he's not destitute and he's not broken shit. I know that's probably hard to take, that he's still successful in some regards. But I think the fact that he says stuff like this and acts the way he does should bring you some level of comfort, because you know he's tormented. You know what I mean? Literally tormented, because his career that he had prior to the Dillon allegations was on another. He was about to, he was about to be out of the fucking, he was about to be out of here. And then suddenly that allegations come and completely halted his career and changed the trajectory of his career forever and ever. So this is an example of it.
Dude, if I ever make it back into Hollywood, which, if I do, I'm just gonna, dude, bro, you thought you seen real? Oh, no. No.
I can't. No. Ricky Bobby, please refrain from saying such a thing. That is a wild statement. He's looking jacked. Those little girls never gonna escape his grasp now. I swear to God, that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, shit. D'Elia's shoulders are like shouldering, right? He's looking fucking wide. And then I read that comment, I was like, oh my God, that is disturbed. You're my little kid now. Honestly, fucking hell. He's putting on muscles so he can trap these girls in these hotel rooms. Yo, this is fucking wild, man. You guys are all going to hell. Like I said, I'll be in heaven with Chin singing fucking church hymns. You guys will be down in hell with Chris D'Elia and shit.
You haven't seen real until I get back into Hollywood, dude. Chris, you excited to be back in Hollywood? Just excited to be getting that money. Don't really care about it other than that. Yeah, da 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 da. Junk dunk dunk. Dun, dun, dun. Also didn't have fun on Army of the Dead. Yeah, da, 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 da. Shunk, dun, dun. It was too hot. We did takes for too long, and the fucking movie is probably bad. Didn't ever see it. Yeah, da, 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 da. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. I still have pictures of me in uniform and might post them one day. Yeah, da, 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 da. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Wait, Chris, what do you think of that? Ah, fuck it. Release the Zack Snyder Chris D'Elia cut. Yeah, da, 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 da. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. I stole the movie. Good thing that they cut me out of it. Yeah, da, 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 da. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Yink, 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 yink.
So as you can tell, Chris is doing perfectly fine, right? He's doing perfectly fine. So like I said, if you're a victim out there and you happen to come across this stream or this clip later on, please seek some level of comfort that this guy is never going to be the same again. Legit never going to be the same again. Because his whole entire reality came shattering down around him. Because the thing I think people discount about Chris D'Elia's sort of like cancellation thing. Maybe I'm the only one that didn't see it because I'm fucking naive and gullible. But I don't think a lot of people even viewed Chris in like a super sexual way before his allegations. So I think the issue with him was that he always came across like fun loving and like silly. And he doesn't really even curse that much. And then when the allegations came out, it painted him out like he was a fucking monster. And you thought, whoa, this guy's completely different behind the scenes. And I think that's what fucked him mostly, because people then saw who he really is, and he's been hiding it for so long. But then when he finally got, you know, laid bare and exposed in public, it just fucked him. And that's why probably he took so long to come back out. Because you remember when the allegations dropped, he disappeared for like a year. He didn't do pods. He just disappeared forever. You know, he was probably locked in his house somewhere trying to feel depressed or making up excuses, or, you know, according to some women, he was still texting them and shit and still getting his dick sucked and whatever. But man, that shit was crazy when it dropped. I remember when it dropped, finding it out, thinking, whoa, bro, this guy just played a fucking pedo on fucking you. And then he gets accused of being a pedo in real life. You're like, absolutely crazy. But yeah, Chris is in really good spirits. He's obviously doing well. And again, this makes me laugh because, you know, Mark Norman and all those other guys were like, you know, kind of shocked when they heard that Chris was still selling tickets and shit. And when I interpreted it, it kind of looked like they were kind of impressed. Oh yeah, look, he's still succeeding even though he's got cancelled, because comedians only care about fucking selling tickets. But for me, I'd rather be an average comedian not selling out theaters than be somebody who can't hang, like, you know, other comics don't want to be his friend because they don't want to get, you know, cancelled either. He can't go to other clubs with other people and just hang out and shit. You kind of live in your own little island. I'd much rather be an average comic working a part-time job, bagging groceries and shit, than be fucking Chris D'Elia and have people think I'm a fucking pedo. It's just not worth it personally for me. I don't care how many tickets you sell, but you know, that's probably why I'm not a stand-up, innit? Because if you're a stand-up, you have to have that brutal, like, laser-focused, you know, determination to just sell tickets at any cost. Doesn't matter who you fuck over, who you rape, who you diddle. Tickets, 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 tickets. Sell out, sell out, sell out. Netflix, Netflix, Netflix. Oh, mate, honestly. Love it, love it, love it. We got a clip here of Anthony Jeselnik being homeless, according to the Final Kids Sub. I like this. Is really good as well, actually. This is actually a really, really good one, because I think, like, the funny thing about Anthony Jeselnik, like a lot of people who encounter Brendan Schaub, or a lot of people that encounter locals, I think mostly you start off being indifferent to them. Then you have one little dilly answer them, or you see them say something dumb, and it completely turns you on the other side. And I think the story with Anthony Jeselnik, I think he said it before on his pod, he bumped into Brendan somewhere. I think at a club or something. Listen to his story. He bumped into Brendan at a club. And for some reason, Brendan tried to give Anthony Jeselnik advice on his stand-up. I think he saw him after he was on stage and they were shooting the shit as comics do. And Brendan, I guess in some way, tried to give Anthony Jeselnik feedback. Now, Anthony Jeselnik is already kind of, you know, a prickly, straight, call it as you see it type of guy anyway. So imagine him trying to, you know, Brendan trying to give him advice. So I think ever since then, he's never liked Brendan. He's like, who the fuck are you? Like the fucking, that Conor McGregor clip. Who the fuck is this guy? I mean, who the fuck are you? Like that, like, oh yeah. So anyway, that's the story allegedly. That's the law.
People keep writing me condolences. Aaron actually called me this morning to talk to me to see if I was okay. The guy, one of the backers, the financial backers of Sound of Freedom, was arrested for kidnapping. I don't know the guy that well. We had dinner a couple times. We've never been on the road together.
That guy laughed. He knows exactly where that reference is coming from, and you guys should know too in the fucking chat. That's when fucking Brian and Brendan got on the Fighting the Kid after Chris D'Elia got cancelled, and Brian essentially threw Chris under the bus. We never toured. We never been together. We had like dinner one time.
I've never seen him do anything illegal. Go see Sound of Freedom. Aaron, what do you think of Sound?
Honestly, absolutely amazing, man. Sound of Kidnapping's hilarious. Big up Marty Moose. But yeah, big up fucking Anthony Jeselnik for being an absolutely a legendary of a guy. That's an amazing pull, man. An amazing reference there, just off the rip, on the spot. And if anything, to be honest as well, I think at the time too, as crazy as this may sound, right? Chris might be a diddler, maybe the P word, but I have to admit, when Brian got on camera and essentially threw Chris under the bus and completely distanced himself from him and tried to pretend like they were never friends, and then went an extra step and started deleting pictures and videos of him and Chris on his Instagram, some videos that we're never going to see again, like old clips of them together hanging out and being funny and shit and doing all their silly goose shit. And then he tried to lie and say the reason why he did it is because his daughter was seeing them, some bullshit he made up to try and excuse himself. It did kind of bum me out, because before then they were friends, comedic partners and shit. So the fact that he would so quickly exactly be spineless and throw his friend under the bus, even if Chris is guilty of what he got accused of, it just made them look horrible. Like, you couldn't respect Brian anymore or Brendan. The fact that they would be go on camera and start crying and, you know, acting as if they're surprised. Bro, everybody was saying it was an open secret that Chris was fucking all his fans. You know, there was always jokes made about Chris having loads of girls at his show because, you know, loads of girls wanted to fuck him and stuff. And obviously he clearly had an interest in girls that were kind of young looking. So everybody was aware that he was into some sketchy shit. So to start crying on your podcast and acting like it's all a big surprise, don't be, you know what I mean? Don't treat us for fools, bit disingenuous. And if anything, that made them look worse than the actual allegations. And as karma would have it, a week later, then the article comes out about Brian allegedly, you know, fucking raping that lady in the Los Angeles Times. So that's how karma works in that regard. But I think them not defending them, and again, it's funny too, because now, you know, Brian, Brendan try to be like anti-cancel culture guys, right? They try and platform people that get cancelled. But in the moment where they should have, you know, stood behind their friend, they didn't do nothing. They kind of let him just sit on the sidelines for a year, and then until everything cooled down, it was safe, then they brought him back out. But when they needed to be defended in the heat of the moment, they didn't do jack shit. So I'm not for it, mate. And even Brian Callen, do you remember Brian Callen when he got accused of his rape? He said on Instagram, I'm going to come on the Fighting the Kid and explain my thing. Then obviously Cast Media said, if you explain your shit, we're not going to have any sponsors, no money. And then Brendan immediately pulled that idea. So this whole anti-cancel culture thing is bullshit, because when they had the opportunity to put their money where their mouth is, they didn't do it. So yeah, guess what? Everyone's full of shit. Even I am full of shit. But the difference between me and others is that we know we're full of shit. For some reason, these guys don't, which is funny because they have a profession where essentially they get paid to talk shit on stage. But for some reason, some of these guys legitimately think they're fucking philosophers and, you know, fucking Navy SEALs of stand-up and shit. It's fucking bizarre, to be fair. It's a good lifestyle, don't get me wrong. Get to travel the world, tell jokes, hang out in bars, but let's relax, you know? Let's chill out a little bit. It's not that deep. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a hater. Let's move on. What you guys saying here? CALLEN is way worse than an SA criminal, in my opinion. I agree with that. Free the commons. Teju saying I can't talk. Exactly. If Chris did psychedelics, he would realize how big of a mistake it was. Acting, nothing happened. Exactly. Booth McGee. Sub Jello saying I'm full of snow. Slow down, B. Bro, I just talk fast in general. I've had loads of fucking cold brews. You know what? Yes, I'm full of the snow. I'm not going to even explain to myself anymore. Whatever the narrative is in the chat, I'm going to go with it. I'm full of the snow. You're right, guys. I'm fucking skiing right now on live on stream. I'm fucking skiing. First black man skiing, right? Heading to gold. I'm doing the fucking slalom, right? I'm doing the fucking slalom. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm skiing, bro. I'm skiing. That's what I'm doing. I'm fucking skiing. The creepiest thing is CALLEN has done is to make cameo video of his homeless cats. It was unnerving to watch. Exactly. XQC got 100 for kick. He should try kick out for checks. Yep, for sure. Damn, we've been kind of sure, but he really is the only one that asked for consent. John Doe with a fucking brain melter there. Brendan was the only one that asked for consent, didn't he? He said, "Hey, Annie, I've heard you suck dick." You know, I get why Annie was offended. Not because of, obviously, you know, whatever, but I think it's the assumption that Annie was some sort of like woman that would just suck someone's dick in a car. Like, it probably made her question, like, what are these guys saying about me? That probably offended her more, you know, like that he'd ask that, like, walk me to my truck. Like, what? Do you think I'm some fucking, I don't know, teenager that's happy to get finger blasted behind the bins of the local fucking gas station or something? Like, what the fuck is this? I'm a grown woman, you know what I mean? You want me to fucking walk you to your truck? Like, what? So I can suck your dick under your hoodie, like in the front seat of your car. Like, what the fuck is this? So yeah, I can understand why Annie was pissed off, man. That you don't want people thinking that about you. What part of Africa are you from? I'm not from Africa, no street. I'm from England, mate. I'm from England, not from Africa. I'm English. I'm English, bro. Like, I'm English. What are you talking about? What is Africa? John Africa. I know John Africa. I don't know Africa. Brendan is a feminist and he prefers take talk. Anyway, let's continue. Let's do this clip. This one's a good one. This one's a good one because this is pièce de résistance. Pièce de résistance, Brendan. And what it displays to me is one thing, is that Brendan hasn't figured out a lie yet for why he hasn't performed at the Comedy Mothership, because nobody's probably brave enough to ask him, or he's not in a position to basically have somebody ask him anyway. But he also displays a very good ability to kind of pivot out of something he doesn't want to talk about, which I didn't think he'd be capable of. But I think if you're a good liar, you know how to lie, and you also know how to avoid saying things, you know? So he does it pretty well here, because I feel like Adam Carolla knows exactly what he's saying to Brendan. He knows exactly why he asked this question, because most likely one of his producers told him about the Fire and the Kid sub, or about the meme that he hasn't performed at the fucking Comedy Mothership yet, even though him and Rogan are meant to be called good friends. Like, he knows something. This is definitely on purpose. And Brendan kind of dealt with it kind of well. I'm not going to lie. He avoided it well, but it's also evidence for me that he knows why he's not able to perform there yet, but he hasn't made up enough of a lie in his head to kind of put out there, because no one really asked him anyway. So let's play this clip, because this is really interesting.
Now, I know famously Rogan said you got to stop fighting, right? Should there be a version of that for stand-up? Should there be a tribunal where, like, other comedians just say to somebody, it's been 11 years, I just saw your
gotta
act.
move on.
It's time to get that job at the
I
supermarket
think
with
11
Morgan
years
Freeman.
is I think 11 years is a good marker. But that's what like Mitzi was for, right? For Mitzi Shore at the store. She was wrong sometimes, like she turned down Seinfeld and like, she took some L's, but she took a lot of
Imagine Brendan's talking about Mitzi Shore, one of the legendary figures behind, stand-up success in fucking Americas, saying she took some L's. God, love Brendan. The hubris on this guy to even talk about her in this way, considering his own career, is absolutely incredible, man.
W's. There's that aspect of it. Like when you stop getting booked at the Improv or the Comedy Store or Laugh Factory, like, hey man, I have to go work at the grocery store.
I disagree with this. I think I left a comment on one of Unique's videos and I kind of said the same thing I'm going to say now. Unfortunately, I'm going to repeat it, so bear with me. I think one of the reasons why comedy and even DJing to a certain extent, the field that I'm in, is so weird, is that it's not really a question of whether you're good at what you do. It's not really a question of whether you're really funny or whether you're a really good DJ. It's not really a question about that. Nowadays, with the way the scene is, or the way the industry, or whether life is in general, getting your own clout up, having a fan base will actually allow you to be able to perform at all these places he mentioned. Comedy Store, Comedy Club, Ice House, all these places will allow you to put on shows there or book you because they know you're a draw, as Brendan would say. You can put bums in seats, you can sell tickets. So because of that, you can't really tell somebody when to give it up, because all they have to do is become famous like Brendan did in his stand-up. Here's a good example. Brendan was famous before, or well-known before he started doing stand-up. So then when he started performing in front of crowds, he's performing in front of sold-out 500-plus crowds because of the success of his podcast and because of him being known in the UFC and all the other things he did before that. That kind of helped. But in the long run, it also hurt his career because he didn't get a chance to practice in front of like small audiences, do open mics and stuff. He immediately went and played in front of his own audiences, playing in front of the home crowd, killing it because they just like to see him on stage and never actually learning that way. So he never really, got to grips with it. But also, it's difficult to tell him to stop because even if he's terrible at stand-up, he still sells some tickets because he's still got a fan base. So similar to DJing, it's not like sports where it's kind of black and white. Like, do you put up numbers? Are your stats, are your stats similar or above the person next to you or your next competition? In this sort of like arts world, it's more so, can you attract an audience? Can you sell tickets? Look what's happening with celebrity boxing with these influencers. These influencers won't be fighting and doing boxing cards and shit if they didn't have a following, if they weren't able to fucking sell pay-per-views. That's what the name of the game is. So there is no Rogan talk for a comedian, really. It doesn't really exist because all a comedian has to do is get famous, become well known, have a popping podcast, and then parlay that into stand-up, and then suddenly you're selling tickets. So it's hard to say who's good and who's bad because funny is objective, and also most clubs only care about your ability to sell tickets. From what we've seen so far, Brendan, isn't that funny. We don't think so, but he still gets booked because he can sell tickets in some locations.
Yeah. I haven't been to Rogan's club over there. How is it?
I didn't get a chance to go either because we did the show on Saturday. I came on Friday because CALLEN had shows at Cap City, the new Cap City. So I did.
Marty Moose, are you a draw? No, I'm definitely not a draw. But that's the thing that I don't mind though. I'm okay with it. I think I was talking about it the other day with the I Love McConan thing. I Love McConan went on a bit of a rant and exposed like Metro Boomin, Post Malone and Sway Lee for essentially only, leaving him on scene when he was ice cold. Then the moment he put out that song with NBA Youngboy and he was all over the blogs, they all kind of hit him up and said, yeah, amazing tune, blah, blah, blah. And he was obviously pissed off by that, right? Because it kind of showed how fucking flaky everybody's in the industry. But that's how it is. I'm pretty sure once I get to a really successful, good level and I start doing my DJ streams and I'm getting like 10,000 fucking views on my streams, I'm sure all these clubs that I was emailing to have sets there and can I submit a mix to be booked there, consideration, and I get no replies, I'm sure they will see my numbers and be like, oh, he's got a following, and they'll suddenly start replying to emails again. I'm not going to take that personally. It just is what it is. It's the nature of the business. You just have to kind of use it to your advantage. And I think, for better or worse, Brendan used it to his advantage, but I also think it did fuck him over long term because he didn't start from like a quote unquote humble beginnings. He kind of started on third base and then thought because he's hanging around with Rogan and Bill Burr and all these guys, Joey Diaz, he thought he was also a big established dude. So it's really difficult if you're hanging out with Rogan to then suddenly go to open mic, you know? You kind of feel like it's beneath you when really he's what he should have done. Anyway, let's continue.
The 2 shows with Callen at Cap City instead of going to the Mothership. And then Saturday night, he was like, all right, let's go to the Mothership after the fight campaign. I'm like, let's do it. And then we got done at like, I don't know, 12:45, 1.
So now you hear what he said there? I'm going to repeat it one more time.
Booked at the Improv or the Comedy Store or Laugh Factory. Like, hey, man, I have to go work at the grocery store.
Yeah. I haven't been to Rogan's club over there. How is it?
I didn't
Adam Carolla knows he's never played there before. He knows this. He knows.
get a chance to go either because we did the show on Saturday. I came on Friday because Callen had shows at Cap City, the new Cap City. So I did the 2 shows with Callen at Cap City instead of going to the Mothership. And then Saturday night, he was like, all right, let's go to the Mothership after the fight campaign. I'm like, let's do it. And then we got done at like, I don't know, 12:45, 1.
Do you honestly believe that this guy who loves Rogan would not make time to go to the Mothership if he was booked? Do you honestly believe that? That he was just so busy running around fucking Texas that he didn't have time to go to the Mothership? It's an incredible, again, you have to give the guy props. His ability to lie on the spot and make up things is second to none. I don't think there's ever an option that he was going to play at the Comedy Mothership because I think somebody, let me say, sorry before I continue. John Doe says he's the only comic that thinks he's too big for small venues. I'm in NYC and some huge names show up at smallish clubs. I saw Norman bring up Jerry Seinfeld at Gotham, not a draw. Exactly, John Doe. I don't get it personally. I'd want to improve. Get up as much as possible. He doesn't want to do that. Martin Moose says, remember Callen ignored Rick Gassman's invitation on TYSO. This year he begged Rick to get on there. You'll get there, AZ. Yeah, for sure. Big up Martin Moose. Yeah, big up. No, I'm fine with it. I know what it is. I know the game. I understand the game. It's about numbers, it's about clout. The moment you are useful to somebody, they're certainly going to be hitting you up again. So I know, it'll all come back around. It's not a personal thing, but I'm just saying in his level, Brendan's level, if you start comedy in your mid-30s, you have to give yourself a chance to get good. And I think the only way to get good at something like this is to do it a lot and not perform in front of your own crowd, because that's how you're going to get proper feedback, right? Go to like a random, like what John Doe says, drop in at random clubs that don't know you and then perform, because that maybe is a time where you're going to improve. I'd think so. But he didn't want to do that. And, it kind of didn't serve him well. But the lie that he made up that he didn't have time to go to the fucking Mothership is brilliant. On the spot, made up that lie. You got to love it. But I found this clip, right, of Brendan talking about open mics and not doing them with Tim Dillon. This is an old clip from like 2019, right? Tim Dillon show. Towards the end of the episode, he speaks about not doing open mics. I remember this episode because I think Tim was trolling Brendan. I feel like he knew everything about the Friday Kid sub. He knew all the hate he gets, and he was kind of trolling him, but Brendan's too redacted to figure it out, and he probably thought he was just joking. But I think Tim was trolling him the entire time. So let me play this for you, and you can see Brendan's thoughts on open mics and his alternative way that he made it, right? And justifications for why he didn't do the normal way that everyone else does it. It's a really interesting clip. Let me get up on the screen. It's this one from Tim Dillon episode number 174 with Brendan, right? From ages ago. Let's play this.
Performing. My open mic was in front of 550 people, tons of pressure.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Now, and then your first special was Showtime. How many years after that?
3.
Do you feel like when
3
you
and
look
change.
back, do you say that was a crazy fast?
Crazy
fast.
Insane.
To do a special that
insane.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's
Nuts.
wild. Would you do another one tomorrow?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'd probably wait 2 years. I might do something, but not a hour special.
When you look back at the special, how do you feel about it now?
I feel
Everyone hates everything they do.
I hate every. I hate on my podcast. I hate my set I'm gonna do tonight.
By the way, someone told me in the comments this, and I've just noticed this now. It's not even that he repeats. It's a term. I think it's called mirroring. He does it really well. So Brendan says, Joe Rogan says stuff like this, right? All comedians say this. I hate everything I do, hate everything I do. When they don't really, they have incredible big egos, but they say it in an effort to like appear humble, right? It's like a weird kind of like fake humility shit. And Brendan's doing exactly the same thing here. He's just parroting what fucking Tim Dillon's saying, because he's giving him prompts. He's kind of like walking him down and holding his hands and walking him down the fucking path. You hate everything you do, right? Right? Yeah, right? Right? Yeah. Like all of us, right? Right? Yeah, cool. No, he doesn't.
I hate the set I'm gonna do tonight.
Yeah,
I hate everything.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what I accomplished short amount of time.
Yeah.
I think
it's
I'm the
crazy.
I think I'm the fastest person to get a big network special in under a certain amount of years.
Right.
Which is
why would you even brag about that after what it was? I wouldn't brag about it personally. If anything, if I was sure, what I would do is I would just say, hey, it was I maybe shouldn't have taken it so soon in my career, but seeing how everything panned out, and I think at that time he still had the SCHAUB show, the Below the Belt show and Showtime and shit. He obviously was doing other bits of TV and stuff. He basically say, look, that's what led to me having a career in TV. That's what I would say. I'd say it that way, but I wouldn't try and like spin it like, oh, there's something to be proud of because I did it. No. Just say I took it because, I just took it. But I think in the long term, it has helped my career. But obviously, looking back, I probably should have waited.
It's a blessing and a curse. But yeah, I'm proud of it, for sure.
Yeah,
but it's like
absolutely.
I hate everything I do, so I don't know.
We all hate
when I do a special in 3 years, which will be way better than that one, I'm gonna hate that one.
Who's
so
your if you pick one guy right now where you're like, this person is somebody you watch and you're like, fuck, this guy's great.
Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few. There's Burr.
Yeah.
There's Schultz, Mark Norman. Shit, man. There's a few.
The fact that he can't name more than 3 stand-up comedians. And they're all current, like, again, so lack of open mics is obviously a clear indication of he was never going to make it. And you also never get the hint that he's a curious or inquisitive dude, like you never hear him talking about watching like old specials, right? Watching like, I don't know, Don Rickles shit or something, right? Or going back in the archives and watching like old episodes of SNL, right? Or whatever. You never hear him speak about that sort of shit. He's just, crowd work specials, clips on Instagram, but you don't really hear him. He doesn't really come across like a student of the game, that kind of thing. That's what probably doesn't really help him either.
Few of them.
Yeah. Burr's amazing. They're all amazing. Everyone that you mentioned. What?
Do you know Fahim?
Yeah, Fahim's great. Yeah. Perform with him a lot. We're on usually
because Rogan likes him. That's why Rogan has him on all the time. He's one of Rogan's favorites. Also, Brendan likes him. Cool.
Together in the OR.
Monster.
After each other. He's great.
As far as like joke for joke talent level, Fahim to me is top 3 around the store.
Who are your podcasters that you're like, these guys are bananas? Do you listen to other podcasts or not really?
My favorite podcasts, I can't listen to other like podcasts like mine, like like silly shit that we do.
Right, but is there any podcast out there?
Yeah, Dak Shepard, Armchair Expert.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's my favorite podcast.
What does he talk about?
His is more of like a
Dak Shepard podcast as well. I don't know if people listen to it now, but I remember when I used to listen to it. That guy's incredibly introspective. He comes across incredibly kind, very family orientated, like just a chill, inquisitive, like, vulnerable, expansive podcast. How the fuck can you listen to that and still be Brendan? How does none of that rub off on you? That's why I don't believe he listens to it. Probably he's in the background playing it to appear smart, but you're not listening to it. You're not actually learning anything from it. You're just passively listening to it in the background.
He has guests on. There's Monica Padman, who's like his like co-pilot. She's really smart. They're like, it's just like informative. He's been through so much shit in therapy that I learn a lot from it.
Are you a therapy guy? Is that do you
I've
think
been to
people should be
therapy,
doing
but
therapy. How do you pronounce therapy? Therapy. Where's the fur? Listen to that again. therapy.
Just like informative. He's been through so much shit in therapy that I learn a lot from it.
Are you a therapy guy? Is that do you
I've
think
been to
people should be
therapy,
doing
but
that?
I don't. My therapy's from like, you know, I probably should go, but
baddies and addies therapy.
I don't have time.
Right.
It's fucked up. To
Who are people that you can't beat up, or you can beat up all comics, most every comic? What about Whitney Cummings? Because
tough.
she's very
She's
kind of
rangy.
She's kind of crafty.
She also has like,
I don't know whether the open mic bit's gonna come up in a minute. Let's just let it play out.
she's more of a mean spirit.
Do you ever, because you're a guy that was a fighter, do you ever go out in LA and look at somebody and go, "That would be a tough fight. That guy's a
Not
monster."
once. I don't
Not
even,
once.
I don't even think about fighting.
Well, no, I
can't
know.
remember last time I thought about fighting.
Interesting. Do you
Never.
think it's because you're just a secure guy? Because there's a lot of little guys that always.
It's
get
not that
in
I'm
fights.
secure. I'm more of like, oh, these guys, they're gonna think I'm bad at comedy. I'm thinking of comedy and cerebral stuff.
Interesting. And
Like,
then also somebody
I'll
you're gonna
walk
hit
in-
somebody, they're gonna sue you for your house.
Well, it's like I walk in a room like, oh fuck, man, these guys are gonna think I don't belong here, or
Right,
I'm not as
interesting.
smart as these guys,
Right,
or
or
I've only been
whatever.
doing it for 4
So you-
years.
right, so whatever
I'm worried about.
I love the little like subconscious signaling. He's talking about being smart and he immediately crosses his legs. That's the first thing all these guys do, isn't it? To appear like they are, you know, considerate, smart, knowledgeable, insightful, introspective guys, right? You cross your legs. That's the metropolitan way.
These you have are different.
Yeah, I'm not worried about, oh, can these guys beat me up?
Right, right. What about like that? Like the thing, like, you know, Rogan's famous for his kick, right? He has that famous kick that he does on YouTube or
I'm
whatever.
not famous for his kick like fucking
Well, you know, I mean in the fighting world,
like
people,
Edson Barboza.
No, of course, but like people will show me, they'll be like, "Look at that kick, that's crazy." Do you have like a fighting move that you're known for?
I was known for like my Darce choke.
Okay, now explain what that is, because that's interesting to me.
Yeah, it's so like if a guy were to like,
what's it called?
Darce choke.
Darce
It's like
choke.
where their arms like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you would just choke people.
It was I was good at it and getting it from all different positions.
Were you ever a wrestling guy? Did you ever watch like WWF, WWE growing up?
I did, and then I turned 10 and
Yeah, I
then got
know,
over it.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think it's a little depressing how comics still go to WrestleMania
Me
when
too.
they're in their 30s. I mean,
Me
it's
too.
a little much.
I can't get into it. Me and Tony Hinchcliffe talk about this all the time. Like I had a bit of my
Tony loves it.
I had my bit on my social out Hulk Hogan. Tony's like, dude, come on, man. You don't need to be doing that.
Right.
I'm like, dude, it's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
He's the one who made the sex tape.
Oh, yeah. So what Tony said, no, don't do it.
Well, he's just like, come on, if you're gonna do that, man, you know, it's like
The funny thing about that Hulk Hogan bit, at the time that he did it, and you'd be surprised, it was already 3 years late anyway. So I think Tony Hinchcliffe was trying to like give him a hint, you know, but he took it like Tony Hinchcliffe was actually sad because he's a wrestling fan. No, he was trying to tell you, don't do it. You're too late.
Like they just like that's their Joe Montana, or that's their, you know, Richard Pryor. Like they
They're
it's Hulk
huge. I
Hogan.
just can't get it because you did the real thing. It's like, why? We know it's a choreographed dance recital.
Oh,
Who
I
gives a
tried
fuck?
getting into it, and Rock, you owe me fucking $69.99. I watched. I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's so strange.
It's not good. In closing, is there anything that you would say to, you know, people that are excited about what you're doing in the field? Like, are there things where you're like, I want to make these things better? Like,
I missed it. It's not the one. Was it? There's a clip where he talks about the open mic thing. I think it's around maybe it's around here. I completely missed it.
Comments.
I don't know.
I've never done it. I don't know anyone who reads YouTube.
Man, where is
DC,
it? Boston. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, all over, man.
What do
Ireland.
you say?
Yeah, there we go. Here's a bit. So here's a bit where he speaks about open mics. Listen to how his perspective on open mics is really interesting, because imagine this is at the peak of TFATK 2019, and yeah, he kind of says he didn't do open mics because he was playing in front of sold out TFATK crowd, which is odd justification for not putting in the work. But anyway, let's continue.
We're doing Europe and all over, man. Ireland.
What do you say? What do you think the biggest advantage that you have over other people when it comes to like your ability to, you know, get people in theaters and get people out? Like,
I don't know. I don't think I have an advantage. I think I have a fan base based
Well,
off.
it's an advantage, an earned advantage, but it's an
Yeah,
advantage.
but I'm just saying, like, I don't think I have like some secret or so. Like,
Yeah.
I think Bert Kreischer's way better at marketing than I am.
He's great. He's
way
phenomenal
better.
at it.
I don't feel like I have an advantage when it comes to that stuff. I think, you know, I put in year. You know, me and Brian been together for 6 years. So
When did you meet him?
like 6-7 years ago.
And were you
What,
doing stand up then, or
2019?
you just met him?
No, met him and then started doing the Fire and the Kid. Then took that on the road, and that's when I started doing stand up.
So Fighter and the Kid's been around for 6 years.
6 years.
And then you guys developed a huge fan base right out the gate, and then took that on the road. And when did you meet Rogan?
Met Rogan. I mean, well, remember Rogan was a UFC commentator.
Of course,
So when I was
okay.
fighting the UFC, me and Rogan were boys.
Okay.
And then we got really close when I moved to LA.
Right.
And then him and Brian were the ones who were like, do stand
When did you
up.
first do stand up?
So we have to blame Rogan and Callen for You Be Surprised and the Gringo Pappy. You have to blame those two guys for it.
First did stand up would be, yeah, I mean, first time we did a live Fire and the Kid. Because we did it at Brea Improv, 550 people. That was my open mic. And Brian was like, oh, you're going to go out and you're going to do 10 minutes stand up. You're going to go out and do 10 minutes. He was like, so every show we're going to start doing this. This can be your open mic.
And how
10
did
minutes.
how did the first one go?
Not great.
Right.
Imagine thinking an open mic. Imagine thinking playing in front of a sold out podcasting audience of fans is the same as going to an open mic. That's why you know he was never going to be successful in stand up. He approached it completely wrong. He thought that was okay to play in front of your home crowd, people that love you anyway. They're just happy to be in your presence. And that would somehow substitute going to a shitty comedy club where no one knows who you are and trying to make that room laugh. That would obviously would help him better. But again, he started from a bad position from the minute one, from the very beginning. It was never going to work out for him, unfortunately.
Not great. I mean, not, you know. It's,
Right.
But that's the thing. People are like, oh, you didn't have to do the open mic thing where no one's around. I'm like, well, hold on. You mean open mics where it's full of other comics hating on the comics who are performing? My open mic was in front of 550.
He needs, you know what I mean? He looks at open mics like a comedy club version of Reddit. That's what he thinks open mics are. Just comedians just hating on each other, right? So he avoided them. When in actuality, he actually needed that. He needed to be in comedy clubs where people would be like hating on him, jealous, saying shit. It would actually train him, actually sharpen his comedic chops to be able to kind of clap back, right? Without using a C clamp, without getting violent, and actually using his words. He actually would have maybe gotten funnier, but he didn't. He ran away, resorted back to home comforts, you know, performing in front of sold out T-Fat-K crowds that are just happy to be there. And then look where he is now. He's still not funnier than he was when he first began. Like, has he improved really from You Be Surprised to Google Pappy? Not really. Both specials are probably the same. Bleak.
50 people, tons of pressure.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Now, and then your first special was Showtime. How many years after that?
Anyway, you heard the gist of it. So that's what Brendan thinks about open mics. He doesn't believe in them. He thinks they're just platforms for other comedians to go and hate on each other, and he avoids them like the plague and would rather perform in front of a home crowd. Absolutely hilarious. Like, legitimately. Like, no wonder he was never going to be funny, man. Starting comedy already in your mid-30s is difficult, especially if you're not a funny person. I think if you were always a class clown and you start late, fair enough. But I think just going from being a regular athlete, a regular dude in one way, a fighter, and then suddenly wanting to do stand-up is difficult, especially if you're thin-skinned, especially if you can't take the piss out of yourself. It's not going to work properly. It's not going to work. Anyways, my friends, it is now approaching 6 a.m. I have to leave because I have to go to the gym and then I have to go to work. So unfortunately, I have to call it quits now, but I'm going to be back later on when I wake up or before I go to work, actually. I might do a little quick fucking hour stream if I've got time. If not, I'll have to do it later on tonight. But thank you to those of you who tuned in. It's been an absolute pleasure to provide you with a stream and some background noise to kind of keep you occupied. Hopefully I've done that. And if I have provided you with such entertainment, you've had some fun, then please do me a favor and like the stream down below if you're still here. That would be much appreciated. Just hit that little like button for me. That would be greatly appreciated. Big up everybody in the stream chat. Appreciate all of you here. Big up Crash, my guy. Big up Josie as per usual. Lovely to see you. Big up Rocky Bobby 420. Big up you. You're going to hell. Remember that. I'm being in heaven with Chin. Big up Paris Bardo. Big up Half Moon Bardo. Big up Cheese Food. I see you. Thank you for joining. John Doe. Big up you. Aryan Privilege. Big up you. Who else is in here? Z. Big up you as per usual. Big up how do you pronounce your name? Carbunia. Big up Stephen Castaneda. Big up you. Always love my guy. Uche, of course. Big up you, my G. Big up Super Jello. Big up Marty Moose. Good to see you. And everybody else in chat. Way too many names to mention. Way too many names to mention. Appreciate all of you. John Smith, I see you. Hectic First Channel was here before. Big up, big up, big up, big up. Free the Commons, I see you there also. And everybody else in the chat. It's been a pleasure to hang out with all of you. And yeah, man, I'm going to see you all soon. Super Jello, you cunt. Take it easy. You guys are pieces of shit. I swear to God. Take it easy at the chair. Jad as well. A lot of energy, AZ. I've had a whole mug full of cold brew. I've had like 4 of these in the last 6 hours. You guys are fucking, honestly, my favorite workout is cocaine. Okay, whatever. Fuck all of you guys, man. I'm not gonna explain myself to you. I have nothing to explain myself. My mum loves me. Jesus loves me. That's all that matters. All right. Anyways, good night to all of you, or good morning. I'll see you again soon. Take care. Be safe and stuff. And thanks for hanging out. Thank you for hanging out. Peace.